evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us at our Speak Out meeting for the Queens Bus Network Redesign. We'll be getting started in just a few minutes, so please stand by. Once again, for those of you who just joined, welcome and thank you so much for joining us tonight. We will be starting in just a few minutes, so please stand by, and if you're comfortable doing so in the chat, if you can just put down what buses you rely on to commute daily, it'll certainly help everyone. If you're comfortable doing so, thank you so much for joining, and please stand by.
And everyone, please, I need you to please share out the Zoom link on your social media. Please invite your friends and family and your neighbors and your fellow bus passengers to attend. Thank you.
Once again, if you're just joining us, thank you so much for coming tonight. We will be starting in just a few minutes, and if you do feel comfortable doing so, if you're a Queens bus rider, can you please, in the chat, share what bus route or routes you rely on? That will really help us so much if you feel comfortable doing so. But we'll be starting in just a few minutes. Please stand by. Thank you so much. All right, good evening. I'm assuming you can see me. There we go. So, first and foremost, thank you so much for coming to our Speak Out meeting for the Queens Bus Network redesign. In case you don't know me, I'm Jack Nierenberg. I'm the Vice President of Passengers United. I'm so delighted that you're all here today. Just a few housekeeping items before we begin. All of you are muted and that is intentional just to keep this meeting orderly and going smoothly. We will ask you to stay muted until we get to the open forum. And in that case, when we get to the open forum, that's where you will be able to, and we strongly encourage you to really get involved and really use this opportunity to share whatever concerns you have about the redesign, how the redesign is going to affect you. So when we get to that, do you know where the raise hand button is? If you locate it, if you're on a computer, you will see that on the bottom where it says raise hand, and you click that just as I'm doing right now. And that will signal to us that you would like to share your concerns live on the meeting. And when we call on you, you'll get your opportunity to do so. But as always in the meeting, we have our chat. Fortunately, with Zoom, we get that as well. So please, during the entire meeting and not just in the open forum, please take advantage of the chat as well. And also, in order to keep our meeting going smoothly, we do ask you when we do get to the open forum to keep your comments as detailed as possible, but also brief so that we can get as many people as possible. And if you do forget anything, or if you just want to share anything else, please take advantage of the chat. We will utilize it and we will share it as we go along. So, and of course, in the chat, just please keep it civil. That's all we ask, so that we can really make sure that this meeting is as effective as possible, because it is for you. This is your meeting. This is your opportunity to really raise your concerns and make your voices heard as Queens bus riders, as people who are going to be affected by this plan. So we really appreciate you being here. And without further ado, here is the president of Passengers United, Charlton D'Souza. Charlton, take it away.
Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year, and thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Charlton D'Souza. I'm the president of Passengers United. And before we even start anything, I just want to thank Jack Nirenberg for all of his help. Before this meeting, Jack was up at 96th Street at the subway derailment tonight, where 20 to 25 people have been injured, according to reports. So Jack was up there, and then Jack rushed to Pace University. I'm actually at NYU right now. So I want to thank Jack for all his work today. Thank you so much. We're so proud of you, Jack. And to all of our Passengers United board members who are here, a big shout out to all of you. I believe Alan's here, Danny Nankumar is here, and some of our other board members who I haven't seen yet, but I'm sure they're coming on. And also, I believe Carl is here as well. Carl, so just thank you so much. And I just want to say how proud I am of all of you, because all of you have been responding on social media to questions, and you all have been reading the bus plan, because we're getting a lot of inquiries coming in through the website, to our Facebook page, to our Twitter page, and there's only so much we can do. So what we need you to do tonight is contact your elected officials, reach out to them, and that's the best thing that you can do to get this process expedited. So right now, we want to go to our Vice President of Buses. Please take it away.
Hi. Thank you, Charlton and Jack, for the wonderful introduction. My name is David Kupferberg, and I am the Vice President of Bus Advocacy at Passengers United. I have been an advocate for more than 20 years and often go to MTA committee and board meetings. I have been an advocate for I am honored to be here tonight. My job here is to listen to your concerns, help address them, and facilitate the discussion we'll have tonight. What is a transit desert? Within New York City's city limits, if someone is situated more than a quarter mile from a local bus stop or subway stop, the person is situated in a transit desert. The proposed final plan should have had 3 goals: close service gaps, expand service to transit deserts, and do both without negatively impacting the core network. Bus Stop balancing continues to be endorsed by the MTA. According to an MTA press release, 83% of riders would continue to use the same stop. This means that 17% of riders would lose their bus stop. This is unacceptable and won't help the MTA in a Title VI case. The MTA should not hurt local riders. Bus stop balancing was done in Queens by the New York City Department of Transportation along Northern Boulevard and 35th Avenue. The people who live in the surrounding neighborhoods hate it. Many are demanding that some stops be restored. The MTA fails to meet, especially in Queens, East ideas in the draft plan that had popular support but didn't make it to the proposed final plan. For example, the proposed Q78 and the proposed Q43 extension to the Long Island Jewish Medical Center. The MTA in the proposed final plan wishes to introduce rush service on some corridors. Rush service is an interesting concept. Rush service works if and only if it complements local service, and frequency for each service is every 10 minutes or better, as demonstrated currently by the Q111 local and Q113, Q14 limited via Guy R. Brewer Boulevard. This gives a frequency for that corridor every 5 minutes or better. Rush service is proposed for the Union Turnpike, Merrick Boulevard, and Hillside corridors, as well as the Saul segment of Sutphin Boulevard. For Guy R. Brewer Boulevard, service would be refined. Local service between Jamaica and 147th Avenue would become the Q115. The Q111 via 147th Avenue would become a rush route, and the Q113 would be absorbed by the Q114, with few trips eliminated. For Hillside Avenue, the Q1 would be the local route, and it would be extended to Sutphin Boulevard and Archer Avenue. For Merrick Boulevard, the Q5 would be cut back to Merrick Boulevard and Brookville Boulevard and replaced with the Q86 and Q87 east of this point. But Q4 riders want limited service along Linden Boulevard. For the Q83, it is the sole service via most of Eastern Liberty Avenue. The Q6 via Sutphin Boulevard currently has local service with a limited variant and suffers from overcrowding. The MTA is proposing to eliminate the limited variant and consolidate stops. The Q6 should have more service and be more convenient, not less convenient. The Q9 and Q40 are proposed to be rush service. Though the Q9 and Q40 would continue to operate via Western Liberty Avenue, they would make no stops along this thoroughfare. The MTA's rationale is that local riders could use the Q112 instead. But that route bypasses the Sutphin Boulevard Archer Avenue station and Jamaica LIRR station. The Q7's eastern segment is proposed to be cut back from the JFK Airport cargo area due to quote-unquote low ridership. The Q112 would operate via the neighborhoods along the Q7 depend on it to take them to the cargo area. Ridership is significant enough on the Q7 to be retained. At its western end, the MTA is proposing to straighten the Q7 and extend it to serve Franklin K. Lane High School. The Q112 would operate via the current Q7 west of the Rockaway Boulevard station to the Euclid Avenue station. Service would no longer be duplicative, and the Q7 would serve new markets. The Q111 is proposed to absorb the Q21. It would serve Lindenwood, then do a round robin via Old Howard Beach and Hamilton Beach. Howard Beach service would be maintained by leaving the Q41 untouched except in Ozone Park. The current patchwork of bus service in Eastern Brooklyn is cumbersome, discouraging ridership. Bus routes should complement, not compete with each other. However, people in Jamaica depend on the Q8 to access the Gateway Center Mall in Brooklyn. Unfortunately, the MTA is proposed to cut back the Q8 to the New Lots Avenue station. Interborough connectivity should also be enhanced. The new draft plan proposed for the Q51 to operate to the Gateway Center Mall. The proposed final plan cut back the proposed Q51 to the Rockaway Boulevard station due to budget constraints. If the MTA could spend $30 million on the Queens Bus Network redesign, the MTA could spend $30 million more. There has to be local service in Maspeth via 65th Place and via 69th Street, as there is a steep rise between the two thoroughfares. The Q18 is proposed to be streamlined to serve 65th Place. The B57 is proposed to serve 69th Street. In Brooklyn, the B57 currently operates straight down Flushing Avenue and the B62 via Park Avenue. The MTA is proposing to switch the two services in Fort Greene and for the Q62 to serve neither Kent Avenue nor Williamsburg Bridge Plaza, a major trip generator and transfer point. To mitigate, at its northern end, the B62 is proposed to serve Astoria via 21st Street. To mitigate the change, the Q101 is proposed to be diverted from Manhattan to the heart of Long Island City. This would give, for the first time, overnight service to the area. Passengers from Manhattan could use the Q32 and Q60. Those services would have neither route changes nor span changes. Q50 night service in North Williamsburg is used by people who don't need to travel via the Williamsburg Bridge Plaza. Bear in mind that Q59 service in this area operates in an east-west direction. The B62 and new Q68 would operate north-south. Having the Q112 as the Northern Boulevard East service makes perfect sense, but making the Q13 operate via Sanford Avenue does not. The MTA also wishes for the Q65 to serve Sanford Avenue. In this scenario, there would still be a service gap on 162nd Street between Sanford Avenue and Northern Boulevard, and stops would be eliminated on Sanford Avenue between 162nd Street and 166th Street. These changes do not have community support. The Q17 route ride will remain as is. I think that the Q64 should be extended via 188th Street, Utopia Parkway, and Sanford Avenue to Flushing. The Q65 could then operate via Northern Boulevard, closing the service gap along 162nd Street. But what about College Point service via the current Q65? The Q26 extension in the proposed final plan, of course. The Q26 is proposed to be a local route via the 46th Avenue corridor, whereas the Q27 would be a rush route. The Q78 proposal in the new draft plan had much community support. It was pulled from the proposed final plan also due to budget constraints. Instead, the Q77 is proposed to be extended to Farmers Boulevard and 147th Avenue. I think that the Q78 should operate. This way, the Q27 could be rush service along Springfield Boulevard and on a trial basis extended to Merrick Boulevard. And the current Q77's route would be untouched. The purpose of the Q23's current route path to Corona is to connect with the 7 train at 103rd Street Corona Plaza station. This, however, creates a service gap. It is proposed for the Q23 to terminate here instead of East Elmhurst and operate overnight. The Q23 should instead be streamlined via 108th Street and serve the 111th Street station. It would facilitate the breakup of the U-shaped Q38 to 2 services. The Q38 would continue to serve the M train. Unfortunately, the proposed Q14 was cut back to Metropolitan Avenue and Fresh Pond Road. Elliott Avenue riders should not be deprived of their connection to the M train. The Q14 must operate to the Fresh Pond station. The MTA's intent for the 14th Avenue and 20th Avenue corridors and the neighborhoods of Whitestone and Beechhurst in northern Queens is to right-size service during the day. The problem is that only the 20th Avenue corridor west of Parsons Boulevard has the ridership levels, land use, and population base to warrant overnight service. The others do not. The Q76 proposal via the 20th Avenue between Parsons Boulevard and Francis Lewis Boulevard doesn't make sense because the service gap will be created via Francis Lewis Boulevard between 20th Avenue and the Cross Island Parkway. Leave the Q76 alone. But 20th Avenue west of Parsons Boulevard does not need a third layer of service. Therefore, the new Q62 should operate weekdays only, but via Northern Boulevard and 154th Street, not via College Point. The Q30 is proposed to be diverted in Jamaica from 169th Street and 170th Street to Merrick Boulevard and 168th Street, respectively, for better access to the Queens Public Library at Central. The Q31 in the proposed final plan would become the true Utopia Parkway service. The new draft plan proposed for the Q31 to operate via Cross Island Parkway to facilitate transferring, but the proposed final plan has it serving Bay Terrace. The Q30 and Q31 should continue to stop at Home 1 Street and Gothic Drive due to the nearby Jamaica High School and good utilization. These changes would, however, create a service gap east of Francis Lewis Boulevard between this street and Bell Boulevard. This gap could be remedied with the Q16 operating to Bay Terrace and the Q28 via 35th Avenue. But Northern Utopia Parkway riders also want the connection to Flushing maintained and to travel between Fort Totten and Fresh Meadows without paying an additional fare. The people of Northern Queens also want the service gap via Willets Point Boulevard filled with 24-hour service to Fort Totten. The MTA is proposing to do this, but maintain service span at weekdays only. The MTA is also proposing for the Q20, which operates all times to serve Mitchell Linden. This is a bad idea. It would be easy if the Q34 would simply be extended. The Q34 would have to be cut back from Jamaica to Flushing in order to remain manageable. The Q39 must serve Court Square and Queens Plaza. Unfortunately, the MTA has proposed to transfer the Q67's Jackson Avenue segment to the Q39. The Q67's connection between Court Square and Queens Plaza has very poor ridership, especially during the weekday peak. It carries few riders north of Court Square. Ridership on the Q67 for this segment is low to the point where some drivers bypass Jackson Avenue in order to travel to Queens Plaza. The Q39 should not use this loop. Instead, it should loop in this area via 21st Street instead of 23rd Street for better connections. This way, when subway service is disrupted, wheelchair-bound passengers could use the rerouted Q39 instead. Not having overnight service on the Q66 into Astoria is an abomination. I think that the Q66 route path should remain untouched, except for a minor reroute from 35th Avenue to 36th Avenue in order to serve the subway. In other words, there should be no Q63. I also think it is essential for the Q66 to serve City Field at Northern Boulevard and Cedar Way in both directions. This would require the New York City Department of Transportation to add a bus bay in the westbound direction. But I digress. The new Q68 from Brooklyn is supposed to serve neither Astoria nor Jackson Heights, but instead serve Elmhurst Hospital. Interesting. The NYC DOT has redesigned 21st Street in Astoria. The Q69 makes fewer stops. Hence, the proposed rush service would not save a significant amount of time. The Q69 Southern Loop is proposed to be moved away from Port Square. This should not be done. Current Q69 service via 44.
Yeah, David. Yeah, I'm
Yes.
sorry, David. So yeah, we're just gonna take it from here. I'm sorry. So guys, I just want all of you to know in the chat because I am getting comments, and I just want all of you to know that this is just a preliminary analysis that David has put together. But all of you in Queens, this bus redesign is your bus redesign. So your opinions, your comments are all going to be looked at by the MTA and by everyone. So, what our colleague David is saying is just things that he's put together based on his analysis and his experience. Some of that doesn't reflect what, we've discussed at Passengers United. So I just want to clarify that, okay? Because I know some of you in the comments are like, what's going on? So by a show of hands, how many of you support what David has said? Come on, don't be afraid to raise your hands, guys. Let David see the light. We got to put David in the hot seat because I'm working really hard to make David a strong leader, guys. And so we got to let, tonight's your night. This is your meeting, everyone. So we have to let David, tell him your comments. Don't be afraid to say it. We're actually going to put an email where you guys will be able to send all your suggestions and comments to David. But David has been going to all the MTA board meetings for the last 18 years. David knows a lot of his stuff. He is good. But we have to, certain things, that you see on a Google map might not be the things you see, in real world, real life experience. So we got to get that, situated. So I didn't want to offend anyone here on the Queens bus who are attending this meeting. David, do you see the light, David?
Yeah. Can I continue?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'm only halfway done. Okay.
Yeah, but David,
well, the sole purpose. Okay. Well, the sole purpose of the Q104's existence is coverage. A new route should be created via Broadway in order to close the local service gap between 48th Street and Queens Boulevard. The Q104 must be streamlined in order to maintain coverage via 48th Street. But the Q104 is proposed to absorb the Roosevelt Island segment of the current Q102. The people of Roosevelt Island want their connections to Queensboro Plaza and Queens Plaza maintained. An extension of the proposed Q105, in my opinion, is a perfect fit. Roosevelt Island riders for the Queens Central Mall could use the subway. The people of the Rockaways fought hard for the existing Q22 and Q35 bus stops in service, especially via Newport Avenue. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. The Q35 bus stops in Brooklyn at Flatbush Avenue, Quentin Road, and Flatbush Avenue and Avenue S have been a boon for the surrounding neighborhoods. Don't eliminate them. The MTA should prove that there is low demand for bus service via Newport Avenue by doing comparative evaluation and community benefit analysis. This would factor operating costs and ridership, but it would also quantitatively evaluate the people whom would have their walking distances increase and decrease, travel times increase and decrease, and transfers added and reduced. This would determine the final benefit score. The higher the final benefit score, the greater the net community benefit. It should also be done in tandem with a Title VI analysis. The Q24 currently serves Jamaica Hospital only when operating from Jamaica. This route cannot serve the hospital in the opposite direction because of the Van Wyck Expressway. It is a barrier that cannot be mitigated. The Q24 is proposed to operate south of Jamaica Hospital because the neighborhood is already well served with the Q54 and Q56. The Q24 service change would also close the service gap created with the reroute of the Q41. The Q55 is proposed to be extended to the 121st station. Unfortunately, there is nowhere in the area to effectively turn buses. The MTA might wish to go back to what was proposed in the new draft plan with the Q42, Q54, and Q55. Yes, there was some community opposition, but the intersections of Metropolitan Avenue and Jamaica Avenue has been pedestrianized. As such, bus service has deteriorated. What was proposed in the new draft plan was not a perfect solution, but was the best solution. In the proposed final plan, the MTA wishes to give better access to LaGuardia Airport from Jackson Heights by having the Q33 and Q47 switch terminals. To facilitate this change, northbound Q33 service must move from 83rd Street to 81st Street. A small segment of 81st Street between 24th Avenue and Astoria Boulevard would have to change from one-way southbound to one-way northbound. The MTA also wishes to streamline the Q47 in the area, but it should operate via 82nd Street in both directions between Astoria Boulevard and 23rd Avenue for better connectivity. Q47 is proposed to serve Boulevard Corporate Center in the northbound direction, but not in the southbound direction. The current Q48 is proposed to be replaced by an extended Q50, but not serve LaGuardia's Terminal A and the Vaughn College of Aeronautics. The proposed reroute of the Q58 via Roosevelt Avenue and the creation of the Q98 has overwhelming community support, but the Q50 should operate to Terminal A in order to mitigate three-legged trips. Outside of LaGuardia, the Q50 would stop only at major transfer points. The Q49 extension to Astoria Boulevard and 108th Street in the new draft plan had community support. Turning around buses would not be problematic. But why couldn't the Q72 be extended, especially southward, in order to connect more neighborhoods? Well, there is no layover for buses at LaGuardia Airport's Central Terminal Zone. The Q72 must take its layover in Rego Park. Any further extension would make the Q72 unmanageable. Currently, the Q46 eastern branches are unbalanced. There is higher ridership to the Long Island Jewish Medical Center. The new draft plan proposed for the Q43 to be extended to LIJ. This is a great idea and had community support because bus service via Union Turnpike would then be in balance. The MTA pulled the idea in the proposed final plan because the MTA claims that there's currently not enough space at the hospital to accommodate additional bus routes. This is a lie. The MTA should partner with LIJ executives to create a solution. To further cut costs, the proposed Q45 could be combined with the proposed Q75. Hence, the Q75 should be local service and operate to the Union Turnpike station, not the Briarwood station. A new permanent central layover area for buses at JFK Airport should be complete at the earliest by late 2026. Now is the time for the MTA to prepare bus service for when the renovations would be complete. Bear in mind that the existing layover area was designed to be temporary and will be vacated and demolished when the permanent central layover area opens. The Q44 SBS was proposed to be extended in the new draft plan to Fordham Plaza. This extension would have been a boon for Eastern Queens riders who currently have to travel to Educational Mile in the Bronx. Unfortunately, there are a significant amount of times when dispatches force the bus operators to take their layover at Hugh Grant Circle instead of the Bronx Zoo in order to maintain service integrity. Hence, the MTA has declared that any further extension of the Q44 SBS would make the route unmanageable. Therefore, a new route in the Bronx must create to mitigate the current negative impacts. To this day, the MTA has refused to entertain such an idea because the Bronx bus network redesign has been declared complete. The current Q110 weekday peak short trips between the 179th Street Station and Belmont Park should remain in service due to popular demand. They should be diverted from Belmont Park to the Queens Village Station. These trips should be called the Q57 in order to minimize confusion. The people of Eastern Queens and the Rockaways have been requesting for a bus route that connects the two areas without traveling via Jamaica. I'll call it the Q80. It should be a limited stop service connecting LIJ and the Rockaways. The Q36 is supposed to be diverted from 212th Street and 212th Place to Springfield Boulevard and become rush service. Unfortunately, projected ridership would be too low to warrant rush service, as that it would discourage local riders. The new Q82, proposed to replace the Q36 via 212th Street and 212th Place, is proposed not to operate overnight. This would create an overnight service gap in Hollis. The Q82 should operate all times on a trial basis. If it doesn't get the ridership, then overnight service could be eliminated. Some think that the Q83 should be extended into Nassau County to serve Long Island Jewish Valley Stream Hospital, approximately 2 miles from the NYC city limits. But if the limited stop zone would be kept the same, there would be unbalanced loads with riders favoring the limited over the local. Schedule integrity could be maintained by expanding the limited stop zone to Springfield Boulevard. The Throgs Neck Bridge is a transit desert. In order to travel between southeastern Bronx and northeastern Queens, riders have to travel via Flushing. There should be a new limited stop route that would connect Westchester Square in the Bronx and Queensborough Community College in Queens. I'll call it the Q91. Such a route would only be a boon for the surrounding neighborhoods. The express bus stops, now with express bus service, the express bus stops at 160th Street and Cross Island Parkway in Beechhurst are utilized to the point where they are safety hazards. Stops should be added in this area. I agree with the proposed final plan that the routing for Manhattan-bound express bus service should be shifted from 162nd Street to 160th Street, as that it is a two-way street and is wider. Ridership data also shows that downtown Manhattan express bus service in Bay Terrace and Beechhurst during the weekday peak would be viable when the Central Business District tolling program, loosely called congestion pricing, is implemented. The QM12 and QM42 service south of Forest Hills, as well as the entire QM3, may have low ridership now, but this may change when congestion pricing is implemented. Should these segments and services still have low ridership, as per the New York City Transit Service Guidelines Manual with documentation, then it could be eliminated. I have complete confidence that congestion pricing would allow these services to be saved from elimination. The MTA is proposing not to use the HOV lanes for the QM5 and QM35 and QM6, QM36 between 180th Street and Fresh Meadows and Woodhaven Boulevard, because the MTA claimed that this would not yield significant travel time savings and express bus service would serve less of the surrounding neighborhoods. The proposed express bus stops at East 34th Street from First Avenue for the QM7, QM8, QM11, and QM25 would be a boon for Queens riders who wish to travel to Bellevue Hospital and the NYU Langone Medical Center. I love it. The QM17 is proposed to be diverted in Arvern away from Beach Channel Drive to Rockaway Beach Boulevard. A comparative evaluation and community benefit analysis should also be done for this in tandem with the Title VI analysis. The elimination of the X designation would make express bus service easier to understand. The proposed extension of the X64 to be called the QM64 has been requested for a long time and would be a boon for the people of Elmont. The proposed QM65 to downtown Brooklyn would be a boon for Laurelton, Rochdale Village, and South Jamaica. Bear in mind that these changes are only preliminary, and these are only some suggestions. Thank you for listening. I turn it over to Charlton.
Okay, everyone, can you all see me? Thank you so much. And again, so everyone has a different opinion on the bus routes. Obviously, Queens is a big borough. There's going to be lots of opinions. But we have to be very cautious, and we have to respect our senior citizens, people with disabilities. But we also have to realize that some roads are small, some roads are not wide enough. So we have to take all of these things in consideration. So I want to welcome Alan Rosen, who's one of our Passengers United board members. Alan, would you love to come on? And Alan used to be the former vice president of New York City Transit many, many years ago for buses. Alan, are you there? I don't think we can hear you, Alan.
Okay, I just unmuted.
All right.
Okay. I didn't analyze the bus route changes like David did, so I don't really have too many comments on the bus route changes. My major comment is the MTA is claiming they're spending $30 million more. Their assumption is if they're spending $30 million more, they're providing more service. Those two are really like comparing apples and oranges. Just because they're spending $30 million more doesn't mean they're not cutting service. They're not, you don't know where the $30 million is going. It could be going to additional non-revenue service, not to revenue service. So it's important that they give us a breakdown of the existing and proposed revenue miles before and after. And they refuse to do that. They flatly refuse to do that. I've asked the Deputy Director of Government Relations, and he said that's proprietary information, and they're not going to give that out. So they're obviously hiding something. If you expect people to believe you, then you got to present the facts. He also told me privately that no one is going to be paying any more fares than they're currently paying now after the route changes. I specifically mentioned the Q101, where people now get a direct route into Manhattan, and they can take another bus in Manhattan. If they have to change to the Q32 to get into Manhattan, that means the third bus is no longer included as one fare. And he says the Metro cards will all be reprogrammed, so no one pays additional fares. My question is, how can we believe them? When they started the B46 SBS, we converted from a limited to SBS. They cut the route from Williamsburg Plaza. So any former limited passengers who got on north of DeKalb Avenue and wanted to make another transfer now has a double fare. Those people weren't provided with free transfers. My guess is that what they're going to do is they're going to provide some free transfers, then add more on a case-by-case basis as people complain. This is no way to plan. My other big gripe is the number of bus stops being removed. I certainly thought that they would put back some bus stops after all the massive complaints and the a petition of over 3,100 riders giving over 1,000 reasons why they don't want massive amount of bus stop removals. And they are still removing the same amount of stops. They're going to remove 1,400 stops before, and now they're still removing 1,400. They're putting back a bunch where people were complaining that the bus stops were for the senior centers, or etc. But every bus stop that they put back, they've replaced with a new bus stop being removed. The total could even be higher because a lot of the bus stop removals, like on the Q66, have already taken place, and I don't know if they're so. So the number could actually be higher than the originally proposed. And the other thing is, if they want to be trusted, and they want credibility, why won't they even tell you the number of bus stops being removed? Why did I have to count up one by one to see that they're eliminating a net of 1,400? They're actually eliminating like 1,800, but they put 400 or so new added bus stops. But the net total is they're still removing them at the same number of stops they proposed in draft one, and this is totally unacceptable. Regarding the Q22 and the Q35, removing service off of Newport Avenue, I could possibly support removing the service off of Newport Avenue and having the service on Rockaway Beach Boulevard. But I can't support it because, in addition to removing Newport Avenue service, they're cutting half of the bus stops. So that means if you live on Beach Channel Drive, you have to walk. You have to walk up to or more than a half a mile to Rockaway Boulevard to the bus stop. The domestic standard is a quarter mile, and yet they're adopting European standards and making maximum walks in up to 3/4 of a mile on Northern Boulevard because there's no parallel route. You now have to walk 3/4 of a mile to get to the Q66 on Northern Boulevard. That's why the bus stops were only stopped or every 2 blocks. They're every 2 blocks because they needed to be every 2 blocks because there's no parallel route. Now making them every 4 or 5 blocks means that you have to walk up to a quarter mile. This is a hardship for normal bus riders, not to mention senior citizens and disabled. That's pretty much all I want to say right now, but I might have more to say later.
So you know what I'm thinking? Thank you so much, Alan. Really appreciate that. So we've gotten some comments, and I've noticed in these Zoom meetings, it's pretty much most of the same people from Passengers United who are coming out. And I think what we're gonna do is, because I see Mike Howard is here. I see some of our other board members. Andy's here as well. Frederick is here. We're gonna put together a Queens bus redesign task force, and we're going to put a task force together, and that task force is going to be led by our vice president of buses. I'm going to be on the task force, all of us, because I want to make sure, because this is a lot of stuff in this report to break down. And like Alan said, we need to count how many bus stops on each route, a proposed route, are being eliminated. So we're going to put this task force together. And I'm gonna have, and also I do want to point out, Cassie, who's here, and Mike Howard. They are part of our new AD task force. Guys, did y'all want to just say something real quick? Go ahead, Cassie.
Thank you very much, Charlton. Good evening, everyone. My name is Cassie Rafushi, and I have the honor of being chair of the ADA Accessibility Committee, because that is something that is very important to us, transit advocacy, and also for individuals with disabilities and stuff like that. And I am very honored to be chair and also co-chair with my friend Michael Howard, who's one of my good friends.
Mike, take it away real quick.
Yes. Can anyone hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yes. Good evening. I'm Mike Howard. I am so honored to be on the chair committee of people with disabilities, because I have a mild intellectual disability. Excuse me. I have a mild intellectual developmental disability myself. And I'm not just advocating for myself, I'm advocating for others who desperately need transportation themselves.
And Mike Howard. Mike lives in Far Rockaway, which is a transit desert, guys. And I actually came out and did an interview with Mike Howard. But I think the important thing is that this task force, we really need to break down Queens by the different sections. And because, the rumor is, and I've looked at this bus redesign report, and guys, it seems like Southeast Queens and parts of Northeast Queens and Whitestone, Bayside, they're getting shortchanged. College Point, Southeast Queens is getting shortchanged, but it seems like other neighborhoods are getting more service. Now, I'm not blaming the neighborhoods for that, but this is an issue that we need to look at. No, everyone should get more bus service. We want more bus service. But my concern is for those people in transit deserts who are not next to a subway station or a rail station, that becomes 3 bus transfers. So you're actually getting less service and you're paying more. That's a problem. So, we're all going to have to organize. We're going to have to come together. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to look at a video that Jack has put together. And after that video, we're going to start the Q&A, right, Jack?
There is one thing before we start the Q&A that I think is especially important to touch on. That is, how do you get involved? What resources has the MTA made available, and have we made accessible to everyone to utilize those resources? But before I get into the video, I do want to briefly put up this one quote that you may have seen before the meeting started that Alan did touch on, which was, if you're able-bodied, it becomes easy to say, remove a bus stop to speed up the buses. Walking 2 extra blocks is not a big deal. And this is by Veronica Davis. She's a member of the federal DOT's new advisory committee on transportation equity. And this is a point that we're going to be emphasizing a lot as we continue our work with all of these bus redesigns, because the truth is, all of these people who are going to be adversely affected many of them just don't have the ability to walk farther. And if we're going to be talking about true equity and true accessibility, how do we really make sure that these populations who are already disadvantaged are not going to be even worse off in the process? And in the video that you're about to see, we're going to see what happens when we saw what happened in the Bronx. If anyone is aware, if you're not aware, they already finished the redesign in the Bronx, and you're going to see some of the consequences of that right now. So this is what happened, and I really hope this is a wake-up call for everyone here.
The MTA has been redesigning bus routes in every borough to be streamlined, more reliable, and provide better service.
Faster travel, more reliable travel, better connections, ease of use. Those are the things that our customers care about the most.
We made sure to look at bus stops that were close to other bus stops and had the lowest ridership. So we were inconveniencing customers as little as possible and the fewest number of customers.
New Yorkers have the slowest buses in the country. The MTA offers an unprecedented opportunity to improve bus service.
Just the sight of the bus usually means you're on your way.
Oh, it hasn't come by.
Now imagine you're waiting and the bus never comes, or when it does, it skips the stop.
Bus. Right now.
Where's the bus?
People who live in Monhaven or on Willis Avenue that have to catch this bus, they walk down 143rd Street to get the bus here. Okay? MTA now wants us to walk 6 blocks to 149th Street to get on the bus. These are really long blocks.
What's happening is we're inconveniencing a population in the community that really relies on this bus. The accessibility wasn't part of the plan. We have a lot of seniors in our community that if they were included in this plan and they were engaged in the plan, they would have known that this wasn't the bus stop to take away.
This bus stop is still not been restored by the MTA. We're trying to get this bus stop reinstated. So
can you see seniors with walkers and wheelchairs or anybody standing there waiting for a bus?
But now the bus is back.
That goes to show how when we work together, we get things done. We got our bus stop back.
It also should be a lesson to any city agency or any organization that wants to do something in our community or make any changes to come and talk to the people directly.
The next redesign is in Queens.
Look at the map. It's not there anymore.
They are planning to take away our Q41 bus and curtail our Q11 bus and not replace them with anything.
These are double fare zones. These are communities that are outliers. I know that I'm affected in College Point where I live. I'm also affected where I go to work in Jamaica.
How are they going to get to school? How are the elderly going to get to work or get to the programs that they so desperately need?
Senior citizens and people with disabilities should not lose their bus stops. That's our primary concern.
They're proposing eliminating Newport Avenue service in Rockaway over the last 4 years. They proposed it 3 different times. And each time the community said we don't want it, and they're still proposing it.
We would have to transfer several times, pay more fares, and it would just double the trip.
We need more buses, not less buses, and we need to be able to have access.
Each and every one of us need to make our voices heard.
So that basically sums up the situation with the bus stops and, of course, the lack of adequate public engagement. And that's why we're really here today, is to make sure that your voice is being heard and you are given the opportunity to really have your really address your concerns about your buses publicly, and hopefully the MTA is listening to us as we speak. So, but then again, there's only so much that we can do at Passengers United. We were given the resources by the MTA about the redesign, but at the same time, there's only so much that we can do, and that's why we really need all of you to take the next steps and get involved yourselves. And we've made it as easy as possible, hopefully as easy as possible, to access these resources. And that's why everything that the MTA provided on their website about the Queens Bus Network redesign, I'm going to show you exactly what we've put together. So on our website, if you go to our website right here, passengersunited.org, this is our homepage right now. And it is temporary for the moment, but you will still be able to get to this page even after we go back to our regular homepage. But this is our homepage for the time being right now. And this is essentially a portal for all of you to access all of these resources. So of course, if you click on this, you can get to the meeting that we're on right now. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to screw anything up here. And then, of course, you can watch this meeting is being live streamed on YouTube. So hopefully people are watching this and can actually go back into it and watch it, submit comments on there as well. We also have a recording of our prior meeting from December 20th. But then if we go back up here, you'll see 4 different color-coded buttons. And I'm going to explain what exactly those do. So first of all, it's really important that when you're submitting comments and when you're actually getting involved, that you know what's happening with your bus route. So by clicking on this yellow link, learn more about the redesign, that takes you right to the MTA's homepage for the Queens Bus Network redesign, where you can scroll down, see what they've been putting out, and then also look at the plan yourself. And at the bottom of this page, you will see everything, the final plan overview, route profiles, individual routes, and all of the resources that the MTA has over here on its homepage, including proposed bus maps, frequency maps, individual routes, and stuff like that. So that's the MTA's homepage, and we made that accessible with the yellow link on our website. And the red one over here is to submit a comment to the MTA using the MTA's website's system. So that takes you to this page. And when you do it, you'll be required to put in at least an email address. You can put in your first and last name if you wish. And then when you click down here where it says Bus Network Redesign Project, you will be choosing Queens because that's the one that affects you. Of course, if you're in Brooklyn or the Bronx, you would put whichever one is appropriate for you. So we're going to put Queens as an example. And then you would be entering your comment here. And as always, I'm going to be reiterating this over and over again, be as descriptive as possible, because they can really only do so much if they don't have adequate information about how you're being affected. Not only what the bus route is and the bus stop, but what's going on, how does this affect you, and what exactly do you want to see them do? Because ultimately, that information is going to be extremely valuable for them to revise the plan accordingly. Because they did listen. They brought back the Q41. They kept the Q17 the way that it is, of course, along with the removal of tens of bus stops. But they kept the Q41, which is a lifeline to Ozone Park and Howard Beach. They kept the Q17 going from Flushing to Jamaica, also a lifeline for these neighborhoods. So really be as descriptive as possible. What is going on? What are you not satisfied with? How will this affect you? What exactly is going on? Which bus stop is being eliminated? What rerouting is not working? Why is it not working? And what do you want to see them do? That is of the utmost importance. And I will get back to that as I will show you more ways to submit comments, but this is certainly one of them. And that's the red link over here. And then the blue link on the bottom left is where you can view the full bus map as a PDF. And this is the network frequency for the local buses. There is another one for the express buses, which you can access with the yellow link, but the blue link just brings you over here. I figured that would probably be one of the most useful ones, because not only does it show you a kind of a detailed bus map, but it's also color coded by frequency, and that is also listed on the top left over here. So you can look at that. You can compare it with an existing bus map, stuff like that. It's just an overall view of what's going on here. And that's in the blue link. But I think the most valuable link for you will be the green one on the bottom right, which is to provide feedback on Remix. And what Remix is, that is the online software that the MTA is using. It's intended for, I think, transit agencies and transit planners to basically plan their bus networks or transit networks or whatever they're doing. And by going into Remix, not only do you have an interactive bus map, an interactive map of everything that you're seeing here, but at the same time, you can go into them. Let's say, what bus route should we use as an example? Oh, I mentioned the Q17 earlier on. So this is what we have right here. And you can choose which direction you're looking at. And this will show you all of the bus stops that are in this new plan. And what's especially valuable with Remix is how you can put comments in and make your voice heard to the MTA directly through this software. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate here, because we have a, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6.5 block gap in a bus stop on the LIE right here. So this is unacceptable. So what we're going to do, also considering that other bus routes also have the same gap, not okay. So gaps like these are unacceptable, and that's why we're going to submit a comment right here. You click on post comment, and then when you do that, you're going to click exactly where you want to click. So for our purposes, we're going to be doing that over here. Again, be as descriptive as possible. What do you want to see? What is going on? What is wrong with this? what needs to be changed. So for this example, I'm just going to put something like at least one bus stop needs to be added between Parsons Boulevard and 164th Street. Something like that. But you need to be as descriptive as possible. Also, it could be helpful to explain why this is necessary, why this bus stop needs to be put back. What is the value in doing so? How does it affect you as a transit rider? If you're someone with a mobility issue who can't walk as far, let's say you're somewhere around here and there's really not an adequate bus stop near you. You can also put your name and your email in. I think that could also help. Also, make sure that you're emphasizing what route it's on, because that will also help them gauge that ridership information per route, how commuters are traveling. And I think that's an especially important metric for them to understand, not just where people are in Queens or on the map, but where they are going and how they are getting there. That's what they need to know, and that's what they need to factor in when they're making these changes. So when you do that, you can click post, and there we go. I think it could also help to, and I'm going to keep that in there actually, because that's an especially valuable comment there. But I think it does help if you do put your name and your email, if you do feel comfortable doing so. But again, that's up to you. And another thing about Remix is they did also color code each of the bus maps or the bus routes based on the type of route, whether it's a local, which I think is green here. We have rush routes, which are, I think it's either blue or purple, whatever it is. And then limited routes, which are in red. And then, of course, the Q44 select bus service and all that stuff. And I think that could also be especially helpful to identify the routes and how they're changing as well. But also, what we're going to be showing you, and again, continuing in the open forum, when we open the floor to you to discuss how the plan is affecting you and what you want to see, is how can you compare the new bus route to what the existing bus route is. So let's take what's the bus route that's changing? So what could we use? So for example, what are some existing bus routes? Anyone have any ideas?
Jack, why don't we do the Far Rockaway to LIG route?
I don't know if that's on the map right now. Is it?
On Remix, can you create a bus route?
I don't believe so.
That's a problem. I have an issue with that. I'm sure Frederick Wells and everyone else would agree that there should be some sort of mechanism where you can create and draw out a bus route for them.
Yeah. But like, for example, with the Q25, for example, I'm going to demonstrate that here. How is that changing? And how does it compare to the existing Q25? I think much of the routing remains the same. It's just the elimination of bus stops, except it's not really going here. But what other routes could we compare? Maybe the Q13, for example. This is what the Q13 will be compared to the existing Q13, which goes along Northern Boulevard instead of where it'll be going right now, or in the new draft plan. So you can see how what the bus route is right now, what it will no longer do. And I think that's an especially helpful visual for anyone who's really trying to get an understanding of how their commutes would be affected, and also what the problems are. What is not working? Why is it not working? And I think having this visual could also be especially helpful in gauging that and formulating your comments to the MTA. Because ultimately, as I've said before, and I know I'm repeating myself, detailed comments are especially effective because the MTA can only do so much if they don't know what the problems are. And that's why your feedback is especially important, but it needs to be feedback that is actually going to be effective. So that's all I have. Is there anything you wanted to chime in with?
Yeah, so Jack, why don't we get to the public speakers? Because I know everyone wants to speak.
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to open it up to the open forum. So if you do want to make your voice heard in the open forum live, remember how I mentioned the raise hand button in the bottom? Please press the raise hand button and we will call you. We will call on you in the order that we receive the notification that you would like to speak.
I did want to say, Frederick Wells, all of the regulars who come on this call, why don't we let people who've never spoken before come on? And then at the end, we'll try to get you guys.
All right, sounds good. So I noticed that James Muse did have his hand up for some time. Is there anything that you wanted to say?
Hold on. Two things. One, I was watching the news early this morning. This is a Manhattan bound 1 train is going to be a collapse. And another thing, I'm moving to Queens. I'm moving into another house, but there's a closest. One question: there isn't going to be if there's going to be a Q46 select bus service is going to be around here pretty soon, or another Queens select bus service around here everywhere.
So the Q46, as far as they're doing, and this is something that I personally have problems with, is they're making that a rush route. They will have a Q45 in which they did also eliminate bus stops, which have now 7 block gaps, a serious problem. Remember what Alan was saying. Remember that quote from Veronica. That is a serious problem for people who can't walk. And that's also why it's especially important to put comments in. I've been putting comments in wherever I'm seeing bus stop gaps, especially on local sections of these bus routes. So with the Q46, what they're planning on doing is splitting that into 3 routes. So the Q46 will only go to LIJ, Lake Success on Union Turnpike. It'll still have the same route except with like hundreds fewer bus stops. Also a problem. I don't know. I bet a lot of these people who are planning this have not gone out into the communities and engaged this properly. But along with the Q46, there is the Q48, which they're moving away from LaGuardia to serve as the Glen Oaks branch of the Q46, which will basically be the same thing as the Q46, except it has a new number and it goes to Glen Oaks. And the thing about the rush route is, and I'm going to pull this up. This is the existing Q46 route. I think there's a lot that, oh wait, I can take this out. And also one thing I did want to mention on Remix, you can choose what you want to have visible on this so that you can focus on what exactly you're looking for, if that helps. And I think it will especially help. So the problem with the rush route is that it runs express to a certain point. And then with the Q46 and the Q48, that point is 188th Street. And what they're planning on doing there is having the Q45, which will go from Kew Gardens to Fresh Meadows, right where the Applebee's is over here. And that would be making the local stops that the Q46 is right now, except not exactly, because it's limited. and there's no real local service, and people are going to have to walk 7 blocks to their bus stops. So that's what they're planning on doing on Union Turnpike. Unfortunately, we're not really seeing much of a select route there, but we are seeing, I don't know if there's going to be more service as a result of it. I can actually check that. And one thing that I did do was tabulate the differences between the existing and proposed bus routes in terms of frequencies. And you'll see here that the Q46 and the Q48 will be seeing greater gaps in service overall by 3 minutes. I'm guessing that's to provide service on the Q45, but overall, I mean, that's still not ideal if the distribution is not spread equitably. So if anyone's interested, I'm definitely going to put this in the chat. If anyone wants to look at that as we're going, you can access it anytime. These
Jack,
are just the numbers there, but that's what's going on with the Q46.
so Jack, can you go over the Jackson Heights bus routes? Because the last time, I don't think we covered Corona and Jackson Heights. And we have some people here from Jackson Heights and Corona who wanted to see that. So can we just
let's
zoom in
go
on that?
over there. So this
And also
is,
Astoria.
yeah?
Thank you.
All right, so this is Jackson Heights right now. We have the Q33. I'd have to pull up an existing bus map to really get a better sense, and I wish that there was a way to have all of the existing bus routes as opposed to just being able to compare one or the other. But what we're seeing in
That's it.
Jackson Heights, and I'm sorry, I'm doing many different things at once. I'm going to pull up the existing Queens bus map just so that we can compare all of them. Here we go. So this is what we have here, and this is what the proposed network is. So what we're seeing is, well, that's just local service, but
I did want to say one thing. I'm sorry to interrupt you. So about a week ago, guys, I actually was in Astoria, and I noticed that under the Queens bus redesign, there's parts of Astoria towards the Con Edison plant over there by 20th Avenue is a transit desert over there at the end where the 105 and the 101 is. By 19th Avenue, 20th Avenue, that is a transit desert over there. And it is about a good 25-minute walk to the end train. So those communities there need bus service. And even Rikers Island, believe it or not, the limited bus that they have is not going to be making local stops over there. And a lot of people complain to me because sometimes the N&W trains are very unreliable, and so they need connections. But there was also a new ferry that's over there, so that's an issue. And so there's a lot of issues there, and I'm glad that I was out there.
Definitely.
And I would encourage all of you who are bus planners, who do all this stuff, to go and visit these neighborhoods and walk it late at night, which is what I did. And let me tell you, when you're walking out there and it's freezing in the middle of nowhere, you will really understand what it is for a transit desert.
Absolutely. And also, just really make sure that when you're going out into these communities, come out there with an open mind, speak with the people there. They're the ones who can give you the most accurate information possible so that you can really plan, because that's data. No matter, I mean, data is not just quantitative, it's also qualitative, and that's just as important as getting the numbers from wherever you're getting them from. So really go out into the communities and really engage with the people there, empathize with the people there, and actually do your part, ask the right questions, have an open mind, and go accordingly, because otherwise you're going to result in situations where you're basically creating transit deserts and creating vulnerable communities.
Jack, so why don't we just look at this?
Yeah,
so Steinway Street has the 101. For those of you listening from Astoria, We also have the 105. So the last
Yeah, but they
meeting
got rid of the
issue-
100 too.
Yes, they
have the
did.
100 and they got rid of it.
They got rid of it, which is now the 105. That's what that route's become, the 105. But what I do want to say is that I know Roosevelt Island came up the last time. The MT did take notes about that. They told me they're going to relook at that. And the MT is here tonight as well. And I know they'll be watching this video on the rewind as they did the other YouTube video. We also had a comment. If you go down Astoria Boulevard, where the 19 is, so let's look at the 19. So if you're all following with us, some people wanted to know how can you get to Astoria from Astoria to Far Rockaway. I know that was an issue that came up.
By bus or by subway?
By bus. And that was a good issue with the bus redesign, because the way they have it now, you would have to take the 18 route in purple on 30th Avenue, and then you would have to connect with the let me see. Yeah, the 18 doesn't connect with the 53 limited.
Yeah, that's a problem. I think it does actually. Well, it gets close to it.
Right.
But then you would also have to walk over there. And then who knows if you're going to make the bus. And what happens if you're going the other way? The frequencies on the 18 are actually, I mean, they're getting slightly better. But we're still not seeing overnight service between 12 a.m. and 4 a.m.
Yeah, that's an issue. And then can we go to Junction Boulevard? Because I know we had some people. I think Marcy Logo is here as well. Because I think Marcy wanted to see what's going on in Junction. So the 49 route was kept intact for those of you in Jackson Heights. The 33 is there. The 72 still goes down Junction. The problem with Junction is they need a bus lane on Junction, because the buses do not move on Junction. That's the honest truth of that. That's been an issue. The 63 Northern Boulevard now has two routes, the 63 and the 66, which is good. And they do have bus lanes on Northern Boulevard now. So the buses are moving a bit faster. And I know Jim Burke is out there with his coalition. They do stuff out there. And the 53, the 52 limited is intact. Now for Manhattan, there is a route that's going to be running on Northern Boulevard that goes to Manhattan. I believe that is the 63, correct, Jack?
The one that goes into Manhattan?
Yeah, it's a 63, I believe.
Well, we have the 32 and we have the 60.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I must have. Yeah, you're right. You're right, Jack. So the 32
those haven't changed.
Right. So we at Passengers United fought to keep the Q32 and the Q60 intact. We told the MTA that was a non-starter, and that if those two routes were eliminated in any form or fashion, that there would be a giant uproar, because those are the only routes. If the subway breaks down, those are the only ways to get into Manhattan. And we call the Q32 and the Q60 the poor man's express, because let's face it, why do you want to pay $7? When you can take those routes? And those routes, our seniors use those routes to go for chemotherapy, to go for surgeries, doctor visits. So a lot of senior citizens ride those routes. Roosevelt Island, we touched on. I know we did the 102 route. We did that. So I think we covered that. And I know we have some people with their hands up. So let's
yes,
get to
we
them.
do. Let's get to them. We have George Coffer. George?
Okay, everybody hear me?
Yep, George, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. So I think one of the big things, I mean, I probably mentioned it in other meetings, is that you want to make sure that you also put down what you like, because there were some good things from the previous plan that weren't kept. And, I mean, not to guarantee that anything would happen if people were to say, I like this or whatever it is, but especially with the Staten Island redesign, the Express Bus redesign, I remember when that first happened, people were like, oh, give us what we had before, give us what we had before. And then they took out some of the good stuff. It's like, well, you didn't have that before, so you managed to live without before. Now you're going to live without it again. So you want to always make sure that, anything from even a previous draft, there was some good stuff in a lot of the previous. There was a lot of bad stuff too, but there was definitely a lot of good stuff that could have been kept and maybe can be squeezed into this draft if if it's if enough people ask for it. The other thing is for some of the general proposals, I think maybe what we can do is, I mean, I know last time I mentioned, if we could, jot it down and everything, but maybe if I don't know if it would get too chaotic or whatever it is, but maybe a Google Doc or maybe, in edit mode or something like that, somebody could say George's ideas, Frederick Well's ideas, this, that, and some people put, for example, comments, I agree with this, let's push for this, I don't agree with this is why. And, the last thing is, and I can't emphasize this enough, but, they gotta have statistics in general, as detailed as possible, but, just general statistics as far as, any change that's proposed should be able to say, well, we expect with this extension, X amount of people benefit. With this reroute, X amount of people don't have to transfer. X amount of people now do have to transfer that didn't. X amount of people will use this solely within this segment and will just benefit or stay the same or whatever it is. All those, numbers need to be quantified no matter what. So that's kind of my piece for now.
Absolutely.
And we are going to be having a special Zoom meeting just for express bus riders. So we're getting a lot of comments from the express bus riders. Those of you reaching out to me, we got you. We'll do a special workshop just for that.
Definitely.
Because we have so many things to focus on. So we have hands up. Let's get
I did want to make one comment in response to Mr. Coffer, and that is definitely, I think that's really something that's important to emphasize. But at the same time, one thing that I was trying to get out of the MTA was when you're making these changes, let's say it be something as small as a bus stop elimination. Why is this bus stop being eliminated out of all the other ones? And what are the expected benefits and drawbacks, but also not only how many people are being affected by it, but who exactly are these people? Are they disadvantaged in any way? How are they disadvantaged? And how is the MTA accounting for them? And I think that's some information that's especially valuable if we really want to focus on the equity aspect. How do you make sure that you're not disadvantaging people or resulting in these benefits for other disadvantaged communities, but at the expense of another one? So I think that's one point that I really wanted to make. And with that, we will turn it over to who's next. Danny's been waiting for some time. Danny? Danny, you there?
Let's move to Keith.
Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, so good afternoon, everybody. Good night. Thank you for Charlton for having me. Thank you, Jack Nirenberg for having me. I want to talk about the bus redesign. This is gonna be a failure for Queens bus riders. There's a lot of downsides to the redesign. Spacing of bus stops, extending routes. If they're gonna extend routes, there needs to be more bus driver operator training because the bus driver is gonna get tired if they're doing extra tours. Also, ADA accessibility and weather conditions too. Because if you're extending, because the MT is making crazy ideas that doesn't make any sense. How are you gonna eliminate bus stops in front of high schools and middle schools? That doesn't make no sense. Just because of ridership, we need ridership to be up. So I didn't really come on tonight to say too much. I didn't make up my plans. I didn't even know this meeting is supposed to be today, but that's pretty much all I could say for now. So appreciate it so much.
Danny raises a very good point. In the Queens bus redesign plan, they don't tell us what service they're providing to the high schools. So everyone's confused about what service they're keeping, what's going to remain. So that is an issue. I asked the MTA if they could add a special section to the Queens bus redesign on school trips. I think the MT is working on that, and hopefully by the time the actual MT meetings start, they will have that listed on the Queens bus redesign
Also,
page.
I forgot to mention transfers too, because if you got to take a transfer, you only have maybe like two trips on the student pass, and then you gotta wait like 30 minutes, or you may have to pay for another fare. So it doesn't really make any sense, you know what I mean?
Well, I'm
Absolutely.
concerned
That's
about
something
that.
that's another thing that we're advocating for, a third transfer for the buses. Because if you're being disadvantaged and you're now having to take one or two additional buses or another subway to get to the same destination that you're getting to now, then you're in a double fare zone. But also for people who are already in double fare zones and are not getting out of double fare zones, how are we making sure that they're benefiting from this?
Like for example, where I
That's
live,
why with a third bus transfer, that'll level the playing field for all of these people who really need it.
So there is some good news on that front. I did have a conversation with the Queens bus redesign planners, and they did listen to our comments from the last meeting, and they have told me that they are working. Now, they didn't promise anything, but we all know when the MT says they're looking at something, we have to take that as a grain of salt. But I really think we're going to have to persuade our elected officials to make sure that the MT programs certain bus routes, but there really should be a third transfer in Queens. Because if you live, let's say, in Astoria and you want to go to Far Rockaway, you might have to take 3 or 4 buses. Same thing with Queens Village to Far Rockaway. Or let's say Queens Village to, what's a perfect example? Greenpoint. Same thing, right? You might have to take 3 or 4 buses. So this is why you need that third transfer, especially overnight when the buses are really bad. So Jack and I, we went to Albany, and I believe we had this in our legislative packet when we went up to Albany. I know Alan, our board member, was pushing for this. There was legislation pending in Albany about this, but guess what? The legislation died, and the MT did not pass it the last time. That's why I don't trust the MT, because I know every time the MT makes a promise, they take it back, or if they say they're going to do something, they don't do it. So we do have to. Oh, Jack's pulling it up right there. There we go, Jack.
Also, like for example, Hillside Avenue, where I live too.
This is it.
Yeah, I was gonna mention the last thing too. If like Hillside Avenue, where I live, like 184th Street and Hillside Avenue, right? If you say you're gonna spacing bus stops, right? It doesn't make no sense, because in the afternoon there's a lot of buses and a lot of cars will be driving over there, and I don't know how you're gonna be spacing bus stops. You're still gonna be stuck in traffic anyways. So it's just totally absurd.
Right. I agree with you, Danny. We're working on it. But you know what I need from all of you? We need volunteers at Passengers United. And I keep saying this. So if you want to be a volunteer, please on Facebook, send us a message. And definitely get involved. We need support. We're going to be going to Albany. And I think Cassie and MJ and all of them are going to be coming up with us. We've got some good news on that front, guys. We've been invited by another nonprofit to ride their bus. So the good news is we will definitely be headed up there. That's the good news. But anyway, let's get to our speakers. Sorry about that.
Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was muted the whole time. So up next we have Keith. Did Keith want to say anything?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Are you there? All right, we'll probably get back to him. Next up, we do have someone who's anonymous. I'm not sure if that person is interested in speaking, if that's someone that is oh wait, Keith, hold on one second. I'm sorry, we're having a little technical thing here. There we go. Keith, are you there?
Yes.
Awesome.
You can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Hi, good evening. I wanted to comment on the Rockaway area with the Q22. The original Queens redesign had the Q22 extended from Mott Avenue, Far Rockaway, into the Five Towns area. I thought that was a terrific idea because I don't know if you realize Far Rockaway is not just a transit desert, it's just a desert, period. It is a retail desert, it is a commerce desert, and it's a job desert. A large swath of Rockaway is only served by one bus, not, excusing the train, one bus, and that's the Q22 going from one end of Rockaway to the other. The extension to Five Towns would have been a good addition for for people out here. You have a lot of people that shop out there. You also have a lot of people that work and have jobs out there. The way it's set up now, if I wanted to go to, say, Burlington Coat Factory, I would have to take the Q22 bus in the Far Rockaway and transfer to the 114. The 114, as you know, during off-peak hours, run anywhere from every 20 to 40 minutes because you don't have the 113 going over there. It's taking Nassau Expressway, that part of Five Towns. So the original plan was to extend the 22 over to the entire Five Towns to give people a one-seat ride, so they don't have to change buses, and so they don't have to because a lot of times you change buses with the 22 running every 20 minutes, even though it says every 8 minutes. But trust me, what's on paper, what's reality is two different things. It'll take upwards of 2 hours to get from parts of Far Rockaway to Five Town Shopping District. Now what they did, they cut that service back to Far Rockaway. Then on top of that, you had two other routes, the Q113 Limited, which goes all the way up Nassau Expressway from Far Rockaway, and your Q114 Limited, which is kind of a local version of the 113. They discontinued the Q113 Nassau Expressway 878 Limited and just continued with the 114. And I think it needs to go back. They need to have that 22 go back to Five Towns and let the 114, if you're going to get rid of the 113, let the 114 replace it along Nassau Expressway. In other words, the way the original bus network had it.
So we did get in touch with Assemblyman Khalil Anderson. One of the things that we're trying to do is I agree with you. The 22 should go further down. Not only that, but we're also trying to get a route called the Q80, which would start in Far Rockaway, cut through Five Towns, and then it would go basically all the way down to LIJ Hospital in Northeast Queens. Right. So it would basically connect with the grid. And that is what we need. I reached out to Khalil Anderson's office about this, but we're going to be reaching out with I think we did speak with Natasha Williams and the other electeds on Community Board 13. And I know an individual who used to work for New York City Transit. He's been pushing us as well to keep this Q80 route intact. The MT, it was called the Q78 route, which the MT got rid of. And that was the route that would go straight down Springfield and go to Far Rockaway. I thought that was an excellent route. We need a route. And so we all need to keep pushing in Queens. And we're going to have a rally about this. Because a lot of people, a lot of healthcare workers work in Far Rockaway, and they're complaining to me that NICE bus is so unreliable, that they can't get to work on time. Because you know how it is. You got to take the 22 to either the N31 or the 32, then you take that bus to, or 33, you take it to, Lynbrook, and then you get the 25. But people are telling me the 25 is unreliable. NICE bus is a disaster. We cannot depend on that company. So this is why we need transit to take over that portion of the service. And I know there's an issue. We did speak with Nassau County about this. So the issue is that, but this really has to do with Southeast Queens, but 5 towns is in Nassau County. So the issue with Nassau County, and this is something that I've reached out to the New York State Highway Division and Department of Transportation for New York State. We're still trying to get a collaboration with them, because Nice Bus and New York City Transit did tell me there are issues with New York City Transit buses going through Nassau County, but that's a lie, because obviously they wanted to extend other routes like the Q113, I believe, or the 114 goes through 5 towns now.
Yeah.
It goes through Nassau.
They've always went through there.
They already do that.
Right, it always has. Yeah.
The
And I think
114 since day one.
and there's a lot of revenue in those areas. Those areas have a lot of businesses over there, and that
There you
whole
go.
area is changing now. And even people who work at JFK Airport have reached out to us. So, you know, I think we're gonna work with Khalil, because I did a bus ride with Khalil Anderson. I was out there for several hours with him a few months ago. But we're gonna definitely have Khalil on, and I'm gonna make a promise to the Far Rockaway residents. We're gonna have a special Zoom on Far Rockaway, because I know this is a hot issue, and I want you guys to definitely leave your contact information so we can stay in touch.
Most definitely. Just one more quick thing. Now, when you say this Q80 or Q78 is going into Far Rockaway, how far into Far Rockaway? Because I'm not just talking downtown Far Rockaway. There's a large, like I said, swath of land between Beach 22nd Street and Beach 51st Street. They have absolutely no bus service.
I know exactly where you're talking about, but my friend Brandon.
You're talking about over here, right?
No, he's talking about further down where the A train goes. Where the new developments are, by Avon, by the sea.
Oh, here, right?
And over there, Beach 44th, Beach 36th Street. There's a lot of new developments over there.
Right. Oh, yeah, because you have a new one called Auburn East coming up.
Right.
And plus, there was developments all along. And we've been suffering from this. I've been out here almost 50 years. And
Wait, do you live in Far Rockaway?
Yes, I do.
So can you do me a favor? Please text me your number and your information in the chat. I definitely want to follow up. And you know who we have on here from Far Rockaway? MJ Howard. MJ, would you like to jump in? Because MJ lives in Far Rockaway as well. I actually met with him, and we've discussed this as well. And I know he and Khalil Anderson have also spoken. MJ, I don't know if he's still here. Is he still here?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, so MJ, we need to follow up on this as well. We need to make sure that and I'm going to work with you as well on this. We got to talk to Khalil again about this.
Yes. We need to put not just Khalil. We need to put my legislator, Stacey Amato Pfeiffer. She also says my part of Far Rockaway, which is Seagirt. I live in Seagirt Avenue, and what I see in downtown Far Rockaway at Beach 20th Street in front of near Khalil Anderson's office, I see parking on the on the bike lanes on my left hand side of Beach 20th Street. People are supposed to park their cars on a bike lane. Period.
Right. So I'll have to speak with them about that. But what I think people of Far Rockaway have complained to me every time let's say if they want to go from one part of Far Rockaway to another part, they have to take 2 trains to get there, and that shuttle train is horrible. So I think any new route that goes through Northeast Queens has to be like a limited to go down further into Far Rockaway. I would even say past past the other bridge over there by the YMCA, further down.
Cross Bay.
By Cross Bay, yes.
Okay, yes, that's it.
Because a lot of people are complaining, and I do a lot of trips to Far Rockaway, and you can ask Mike. I was out there. In fact, I was out there a few weeks ago, and I was not happy with what's going on. The only good thing is they've extended the 22 to serve the LIRR station because of the new city ticket program that you guys have for the railroad. But the problem is there's no overnight service on the 22, and there
Nope,
needs to
right.
be overnight service. Same thing with this proposed Q80. The bus should run overnight, hourly, at least hourly overnight. So you have something to take you to Northeast Queens, because everyone's complaining. This is like a hot political issue, and it's something that we really are we're going to have to go out there, have a press conference, work with the electeds, work with you guys. I need you guys to stand with us on this, because we have
Definitely.
to save that 7880 route.
Yeah, I totally agree with the Q80 route, but I'm just blessed that they in the Rockaways they have circuit cabs. Like when the Q22 is not being at Q22 is not an all night run. That circuit cab should be an all night run, but it's not. The
Can you
circuit
please
cabs run like
specify what the circuit cab is for those who don't know?
a circuit cab is I mean I've been to a meeting about it, but I never wrote on it yet. I just found this out from my state senator James Sanders Jr.
So here's the thing. Dollar vans, okay, yeah, I know it's dollar vans, but I just wanted the public to know, because many people don't know. The problem is the dollar vans. I just feel like if you paid for a weekly or monthly, the MT should be providing that service, because that is your tax money, that is a service. And so we have to make sure that it's easy to get from the end of Far Rockaway to Northeast Queens. That has to be in the new Queens bus redesign plan. And they're saying they're spending 30 million. Well, connect the transit deserts. You should be able to take 2 buses from Far Rockaway to get to Astoria. We have to make the bus service equitable. And this is something that Jack's been pushing, something I've been pushing, our team and our board members at Passengers United. Paul actually also wanted to talk about this. I know he had his hands up. Paul, take it away.
Okay, I'm here now. You hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, like I was thinking, like, since the Q22 connects various routes in the Rockaways from the east to the west, that if they made that route fare free, because it's a connecting route. In other words, on the west side, you could hook up with the 35, and then you go on the 22 for free, and then you could connect with the 114 or the 52 or the 53, and you would still be in the same fare zone. So I'm suggesting that since that route encompasses all the other north-south routes, that the MTA should just make that route fare free, and as far as the other extensions to other areas, and that the other gentleman was speaking about in I think East Auburn,
yes,
well that route's going on Beach Channel Drive to 22. Then maybe they could look at the 52 going on that other part of Auburn being extended. And what do you call it? I was thinking of another issue was you were talking about transfers earlier. That bill that you mentioned, there was a bill that was kicked around the state senate for many years, and I tried working with Leroy Comrie's office a couple of years ago to try to update that bill to make it more because the bill had to do with service reductions, and I said, I tried to reword the bill, but he never had his assistant that was working on it. I forgot his name. He didn't have the time to work on it, but I told him.
Anderson, I know he told me they wanted the 114 to be the free route, and I think that should have been the free route, because that's a transit desert. That actually would have connected a lot of the grids on the existing plan that we have now. But they decided to make the Q4 free, which, the Q4 is in a mostly wealthy area.
I'm talking about indefinitely, like that the route should just be indefinitely, because what I'm saying is, if you're going from, say you live in Reese Park, you're on the Q35, but you want to get to Q14, you now got to take the 22 You got to first transfer to the 22, then you got to transfer to the 114. So I was looking at that region. But I guess if you're going from, see, when you go into Far Rockaway to Jamaica, most people will be transferring to either the subway there or to another bus towards Flushing or another area. So that's why I thought the one that's connecting all the routes together should be like indefinitely free. And that was my idea. The same thing with the Q51. Like the Q51 is a limited route along Linden, but that route intersecting with a lot of routes. In other words, if you're on the Q113 and you want to transfer later to another north-south route, so you transfer first to the Q51 and you're going along Linden. Now you want to transfer to the Q10, so you're always going to need 2 transfers with that route. Because if you're, you know what I'm saying? So if you're on any of those north-south routes and you want the A train, say, for example, say you're on the 85, the Q5, and you want to connect to the A line at Rockaway Boulevard, you'll transfer to 51. You're still going to need another transfer to the A line. So I'm saying a route like the Q51 and a route like the Q22 should be fare free.
I agree.
Yeah, so
I agree.
because so that's the concept I'm talking about. But the other, and the thing with the past bill is that bill that was being kicked around the state Senate and state assembly, there was supposed to be funding attached to it. To me, giving an additional transfer shouldn't require any funding at all from the state, because technically when you go on the subway, you go to the A train, you transfer to the F train, you transfer to the number 2 train, all your transfers are included. But why is it different for a bus? In other words, if you have to take 4 buses 30 minutes each versus taking one bus 2 hours, what's the difference in cost to the MTA? There's no difference in cost. If you take 4 buses.
You know what this reminds me of? I'm sorry, guys.
They just want. In other words, the MTA just wants to get money. In other words, they say we'll give a third transfer, but we want $10 million from the state of New York each year to give it. For what? They're not giving anything.
So some bus systems across the country, when you pay a fare, what happens is they let you take 3 or 4 buses on one
Correct.
fare. That is what transit needs to do, because Queens is different. Same thing with the Bronx. You know
what it is? They're afraid they're going to lose money, but because they think that people are going to sell swipes near the turnstile if they have that unlimited ride. I think they think they're going to have some type of
First of all, let me debunk that myth. With the new Omni cards that they have now, how many of you have seen the prepaid Omni cards? Has everyone seen the new prepaid Omni cards? I'll just show you one that I have here. These are the new prepaid Omni cards. Can everyone see it? Jack, can you just pull it up?
Yes, I can.
So these are the prepaid Omni cards. I use a prepaid Omni card. I've been testing it out. I love it. And so these cards can actually be programmed. And so the fraud cannot really happen on these. And these are not like the Metro cards. So this is why we need to push the MT. And like I made a commitment to all of you. But what we need is all of you to follow up with us, because all of y'all live in different areas. And we want to come out at Passengers United, visit your communities, talk with everyone. And we want to be the advocate organization that you guys can trust and depend on. But this is going to take a lot of work. And, we're going to work on getting this right.
And that's why it's so important for you to really get involved and really take this further and really utilize all the resources that the MTA has and that we're making even more accessible to you. So,
and Frederick Wells made a very good point. Frederick Wells said MODA gives you 3 transfers. I forgot, what is the fare on MODA, by the way? Does anyone here know?
I can look that up.
Yeah, and also we have Judy, Galaxy A32 5G. She made a comment earlier, but I don't know if she wanted to say something.
Yeah, her hand is up. Here, let me unmute you.
Okay.
Okay, you hear me now?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, that Q41 is a joke, and that's a joke, capital JOKE, because every time people have to get to work, they personally have the slowest buses. It's like worse than a turtle. And then when they do come, it's due at one time like a conga line. And the thing yesterday, that was, I think you seen it on the Pastors United group page. You seen the picture, right? With the bus that
Yes,
got
I
stuck
did
on.
see that.
Now, this is what I don't understand. The bus driver, when he was driving the 41, when he got off 128th Street in Liberty, I could hear the brakes. The brakes was in, something was with the brakes. I said, wait, the brakes somehow shut off the system. It also, it cut out. Instead of him calling the base, something's on this bus, what should I do? He didn't do nothing. The bus came back on. He gets to Atlantic Avenue and 128th Street. Same thing happened. He told us get off the bus, and as soon as we were going down Atlantic, I could have taken the 24 bus to go to Jamaica. We missed that. How about we get on the same bus again? The guy picked us up again. Talk about doofy. He picked us up again. This time, when we got to Sumter
So
Boulevard,
did you
it
want to
comes
make a
out.
specific point? Like, what do you see the redesign that you want changed for the 41?
Okay. The thing about it is what the Q6 does, you know how the Q6, some is limited, some is unlimited? I suggested it to Community Board 10. They told me, nah. They didn't like what I said, because I told them, let's do, limited buses for the Q41 and regular for the 41. They didn't like the idea.
Carl, did you want to, because I think, Carl, you spoke to me about Community Board 10, right?
That was Betty Bratton that said that.
Yeah, you know what, guys, and I'm going to tell you something about community boards. We're having issues with them. I'm not happy with the community boards. I'm very upset with the way they're handling this bus redesign, because of the last 4 meetings about 2 weeks ago that the MT had. Hardly anyone from the community boards were there. Guys, we were at all these meetings, and hardly any electeds, hardly any community boards were there. I mean, and then when there was a community board member there, they were talking about the express bus. Don't get me wrong, that is good. We do need that. But, it was like every person for himself. And I didn't appreciate that. And so we're going to have to do a major educational campaign with these community boards. And
Charlton, what was that lady's concern with Q41 again?
So
Community
Board 10 did not like the idea she submitted.
What was the idea?
Yeah.
What was the idea?
I told them, let's do limited buses and unlimited. And I told them, let's do accordion buses. The accordion buses, at least you have more people on there. And they said, no, we can't make those turns because it's too narrow. But
you want in other words, you want articulated buses on the Q41 route.
Yeah.
Well, so it's a local route. It's not like the Q52 and 53 that's on a straight thing, and that has more. I understand. Well, along 109th Avenue might be doable, but once you go into the turns in Lindenwood for the accordion bus, it might be a little. It could be done, but there would have to be a real large ridership. Is there a large ridership there? Like usually they put the accordion buses on the limited routes, like the 52, 53, Q44. So they did put them on the Q10, like more straight routes. That has a lot of turns, I think. And in Howard Beach, it does a lot of turns. So I don't know if is there a lot of ridership that needs it.
Our expert here wanted to make a comment. Where is he?
I don't know how much. Yeah, I don't. If there's you need a certain amount of ridership to have a accordion bus, I think.
Where is he? I know he just made a comment.
So that's my point. Yeah. So
George, George, because he's the expert, George. And George is listening to our comments as well, guys. He's taking notes. George, did you want to suggest something on that? Thank you, Carl.
You mean David, not George.
No, George. George.
Oh, George. George.
Take it away, George, if you're there.
If not, we do have more people who have their hands raised.
Okay.
So in order, we have Andy Pollock followed by Frederick Wells. And you can unmute yourself, by the way.
Yes, okay. Good evening, everyone. Andy Pollock here, a member of Passengers United. So there are a couple of things that I wanted to touch up on. The first, I wanted to thank Jack for bringing this to my attention tonight, and I'm first finding out about this. So now they want to split the Q46 as a semi-express route in Fresh Meadows, and now they're proposing a local bus stop route, which I flat out do not understand why the MTA is strongly considering this, but even with this new route that they're proposing, well, guess what? If you're a senior citizen, and believe me, I'm close with my homeowner civic association. We have a lot of seniors in my community. Now you're basically going to make them walk a bunch of blocks just to access the bus, like what they did with the Q66 on Northern Boulevard in Long Island City. I mean, how does that help anybody? For an example, and I'm looking at the map right now, how is this helping anybody west of 188th Street, west of Utopia Parkway, where most senior citizens need access to the bus? So believe me, I'm going to have to reach out to my state assemblywoman, Nili Rosick, about this, because this is very concerning from what Jack was showing everybody earlier tonight. So, Jack, I want to thank you very much for bringing that up. The second point I wanted to make, and I've said this before in the last meeting, Q76 route's going to get heavily impacted. Not only that, but Q34 is threatening to get eliminated. And specifically on the 76, what they want to do now is they don't want it to run along the Cross Island Parkway. And a lot of senior citizens in the Whitestone area have been deeply concerned now that they're going to have to transfer to another bus just to access the Cross Island Parkway near Clintonville Street. And one more thing I want to discuss. Is this true that they're actually thinking about cutting late night bus service for certain routes throughout the borough?
So I'm going to pull up the
yes,
comparison.
it is true.
So here's what we're seeing. You're talking about overnight?
So
Yes,
guys,
overnight.
in the Bronx, there are actually less bus routes now with overnight service in some cases. The headways have been reduced.
Yeah, the
and that's
Q46
a
has been
problem.
reduced. The Q43 has been reduced. Q25,
How about the Q47?
Q5. The Q46 is seeing 14 minute greater headways overnight. Q58 is seeing increases by 10 minutes. Q114 is actually seeing a decrease in 18 minutes, but then again, this is all on paper. You can't really compare the two. But I'm not really encouraged in any way by.
One quick question, and sorry.
Yeah, George, sorry. Go ahead, George.
Go ahead.
Because some of the routes they changed, like the 48 in this redesign is a Union Turnpike route. The 48 in the current system is the Flushing LaGuardia route. Is that reflected in your table? And after that, I'll talk about the articulateds.
Everything in the table was taken from the MTA's own report for the redesign. So if we go back to what they put out.
No, but the thing is, the current Q48 is not the Q48 that runs. I just want to make sure that that's
correct. That is, if that's what the MTA put, then that's what they're saying. I mean, I don't know if this is an error on their part. They should have caught this before they put the report out. But based on the numbers that I'm seeing, this is all taken from the MTA's own redesign report. So
yeah, and that 4 to 6 a.m. gap, that is very concerning to me.
Alan, the expert, has Alan's very good at this. Alan, did you want to jump in?
You can unmute yourself if you.
I did. What did you want to ask me?
Is there anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, Alan just made a very good point about that. Alan, did you want to tell us that point?
A point of, I just made a few comments in the chat.
Yeah, can you tell us so we can, yeah, because I think that what Alan just said were very good points.
Well, you were showing the maps before, and I saw plenty instances where people have to walk 3/4 of a mile to get to a bus. You say 7 blocks is too far to walk, but that assumes you live along the bus route.
Exactly.
Get to the bus route. And who's going to walk 3/4 of a mile to get to the bus, to ride a mile or two, and then walk 3/4 of a mile at the other end? They'll take a cab, or they won't make the trip. The MTA is going to lose ridership. They won't gain ridership. They keep saying the buses will save 20 seconds. They'll be so much faster, but it's not true. In the Bronx, buses only save 2 minutes. And how many people had to walk more than 2 minutes extra because the bus no longer stopped at the bus stop? So people's trips are actually longer, not shorter, even though the buses save 2 minutes. The MTA wants the buses to save 2 minutes because that saves operating costs for them. That's all they're interested in. What they need to be concerned is how long are people's trips taking? Because not only with the longer bus stops do you have an extra longer spacing between bus stops, do you have a longer walk to the bus, you have a greater chance of missing a bus. If you just happen to miss a bus because you're walking an extra block or two, that alone can add 10 or 20 minutes to your trip. And nowhere is the MTA considering passenger travel time. All they're talking about is buses will go faster. And I've explained all this to the MTA, and they've totally ignored me. They wouldn't respond to any points that I made because they're not interested in hearing the truth. They have their minds made up of what they feel is best, and they're going to go ahead and do it unless massive amounts of people come out and protest. That's the only way they're going to stop. They're not going to listen to 1 or 2 comments.
The problem is the way all of the communities that are going to be hit the hardest don't even get, I mean, let alone everyone with a mobility issue. Well, first of all, if you're looking at the map now, this is on the Q114, which is already a transit desert. This is the only route in the area, and there's let's count this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 block gap between bus stops.
So that's 5 blocks. If you live along the route to get to the stop, what about if you're up where it says Inwood?
Yeah.
How far would you have to walk to the bus then?
Exactly. So they're not closing the transit deserts. I mean, I know they talk about the last mile. I think that's what they call the last mile distance. And I call BS because clearly they know nothing about it.
The thing
look where it says Inwood to stop near Julie's restaurant. That's over 3/4 of a mile, and that's not even the farthest you'd have to walk. Some people might have to walk even a mile. People aren't going to do that.
The problem is they're assuming that everyone has the means to get from wherever they are to the bus stop, and they don't. They don't have it. They're assuming that everyone is able-bodied, that everyone has the resources, whether it's a personal vehicle, a bike, whatever it is, that they can do it themselves. No, that's not true. If you're going to make this better, at least fill in the gaps, not create more of them.
So, guys, can I make a proposal? Who's down with me to do a walk from where is that? I can't even see that from that bus stop all the way to 5 Towns. Who wants to do that walk? Is that even walkable?
Can I put some, because there's a reason for that. Can I just put this?
Go ahead.
Definitely.
So one of the things too, I'm pretty sure the existing spacing in that particular area is around, I don't know if there's any existing bus stops along the Nassau Expressway. I don't know if there's been concerns about.
On the Queen side, there is. On the Queen side, once it leaves the border, it doesn't stop on Nassau Expressway. I don't believe so. But it used to go, that's the local route that they're talking about. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's the local. The problem is they're eliminating the local entirely in an area that doesn't have anything.
No, but the thing is, it goes on the Nassau Expressway.
Right. So the way it is now, you're talking about the 114 limited.
Right.
Or the 113 limited. I'm sorry. The 113 is the limited now.
Fine. Now it's kind of, it's the 113 is being eliminated. They're adding a little bit of more 114 service. But the thing is, the stop on the Bayview side is for the west side of the expressway, or the neighborhood on the west side of the expressway. The stop on Mott is for the east side. I don't know if you can actually. I think it's not an actual expressway in that area, but I think it's a high speed road in that area, and I don't know if there may be restrictions on being able to actually stop on that high speed road.
Right, but when the bus makes the turn on Mott Avenue,
at the very least, add another
This
bus
is
stop.
David. There are no stops along the Nassau Expressway at all. None.
Right. But I don't know if there's is there an existing stop now? That's
yes, there is. So right before you hit the
to my
Queens
knowledge,
border,
there isn't.
There is actually 3 stops on Bayview Avenue on the Queen side. Once the bus enters Nassau Expressway, it's in Nassau County because that's the Nassau County Queens borderline.
Still Nassau County. Bayview is still on the Nassau County side.
Yeah, but
no, I'm looking at it by Julie's Restaurant. That's Queens.
No, Julie's is still Nassau.
That's Nassau.
Bayview Avenue is completely within Nassau. You see that that dotted line is Nassau.
Yeah, but how is that an excuse to eliminate bus stops over there?
Well, that's my question. Can we go into bus time and
let me do that now? SGA bus time,
and then go to the Q14, and then let's see what those stops are. Because I don't know if any. Not to say that they should or shouldn't add stops or eliminate stops, but are there stops? What are the existing stops in that area?
The existing stops are, we have St. George Place, Monroe, and Doughty Boulevard.
Okay, now what's being eliminated and kept? Because you notice
it eliminated Doughty and it eliminated St. George, so it only kept Monroe.
Okay.
And then on the other side of the Nassau, we have currently the closest one is at Lawrence, and that's basically, so that stayed the same. The only thing that they really took away is that Doughty Boulevard.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. We got to be clear that the stop that we're doing, not just randomly, let's just randomly add a stop. The stop that we want is Doughty, not, just randomly add a stop in the middle of the Nassau Expressway because there's a gap, because, you want the stop where it's convenient for people. You don't want it in the middle of the highway where, it's hard to.
Correct.
That's my point. So we have to be very focused on which stops we're asking to be put back.
Yeah. But then also, is there any possibility of the MTA doing some kind of flag stop program in areas that don't have anything else?
Well, the 114 as it exists right now, the first of all, I'll put it this way: flag stops are very, that they're very confusing, and they're very there's a whole route in where I live called the number 30 in New Jersey, and that whole town is literally flag stops. Like, you literally, it's like you wait at a random bench and somehow people are supposed to know that it's a bus stop. So, and the bus driver's like, well, it's at that corner, it's not at this corner. And then I'm running down. It's like, well, you're lucky I let you. No, that's to put flag stops as a general thing. I think is going to be a lot harder. Because then the other thing is too, the bus driver has to be on the lookout constantly for people who may or may not know that it's a stop, and people have to figure out where, a pole in the ground is needed. I mean, flag stops, if they work in very limited circumstances.
So then, do you think that an analysis of the population in this area right now would be useful to evaluate where exactly additional bus stops should be placed? Because eliminating Doughty is a bad idea, because it just creates more walking distance for people who are living in Inwood.
1 second. Can we bring Alan in on this? Because
Yeah,
I want to
Alan,
get Alan's opinion on this.
thought on this. Alan, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Awesome. So what's your take on this?
Well, I sort of agree with George. I don't think you can have flag stops, but they do have the program after 10 p.m. where the bus driver will let you off wherever you want to get off. It seems why couldn't they let people on where they want to get on after 10 p.m. if they could let you off?
I think the fact that you're already
during the day. I agree with George. I don't think you can do it.
Yeah, because I think the problem is that if you're telling the person to wait wherever, because it says the bus driver can let you off if they deem the thing safe. So if you're waiting at a place that's not a bus stop, even if it is practically safe, the bus driver could say, I don't think it's safe, and then just drive by. So if you're already on the bus, the guy can say, yes, I'll let you off, or no, I won't let you off. But if
but you could be on your way walking to the stop, and if the bus driver doesn't want to stop because he deems it's not safe, you're not losing anything because you'll take the next bus, you'll walk to the next stop.
Right, but I think the concern is that people might just interpret that policy as I'm going to randomly wait at this corner, as opposed to, oh shoot, I'm running for the bus, let me see if the guy can let me on, as opposed to, you get what I'm saying? Like, if you're already on the bus, the worst that can happen is that you have to walk the extra blocks from the regular stop. If you are trying to get on the bus, well, if the guy lets you on, that's perfect. But if the guy doesn't let you on, then you're sitting there. It's like, well, I don't know. Was it a safe stop? I thought it was safe. That type of thing. And you're talking about headways after 10 p.m. The next bus could be 30 to 60 minutes away over a misunderstanding. I don't think that's. I can see where you're coming from, but I don't think it'll work in practice just because there's too much discretion in. Oh, I didn't think I could pick them up because a lot of times it's like on some routes, and some drivers don't. Is that basically it's like let's say it'll be like, can you let me off before the light instead of after the light? So if the guy's like, well, the light's yellow, let me see if I can make it through. Oh, well, he wasn't at the stop. So in some cases, some drivers, not to say what's right or what's wrong or whatever it is, but some drivers are like, you know what, let me only do it if the light is red. Some might say, all right, you know what, even if I miss the light, let me let them off before the light or whatever it is. But if you're applying that policy to people getting on, there's a chance that people could miss the bus. If there's a misunderstanding of what's considered safe or not safe.
I'll just tell you what happened to me about a month ago. Two buses were coming together, and I was between bus stops, and the first bus went by, and I waved my hand, and the second guy stopped between bus stops, not even in the bus stop. I walked over the half a block. He let me on. He had no other passengers on the bus, and that saved me 10 minutes. 10 minutes in the rain, I would have had to wait, or 20 minutes, I would have had to wait if he wasn't nice and didn't do that for me.
I mean, one of the things is too that with the way I understand it is, a bus driver the bus driver can't necessarily get in trouble for letting people on or off between stops, during normal hours or whatever the thing is. The thing is, if something were to happen, if it's 11 o'clock at night and the guy lets you off before the light, and he says, well, I thought it was safe. I lowered the bus, this, that, and I let him off at 11 o'clock at night before the light, and the stop is after the light, the bus driver probably won't get in trouble. If it's, but he does have the discretion to do it, but it's just that if anything were to happen, if you were to fall while he got on the bus or something like that, that's when they would come after the driver in those cases. So I think it might be a little bit more complicated, even though I agree with what's being attempted to be accomplished. I just don't think that, I don't know if it would work in practice with some people's interpretation of the rules and being a little bit nervous about, what if something happened, if I let this guy on and, it's 11 o'clock at night and, practically speaking, like, look, yeah, have a heart. If it's raining and it's at night and you see the guy running for the bus, let him on. If the next, but practically speaking, I think that it's subject to, misinterpret. I mean, they could maybe remind the drivers like, hey, you can let them on if you'd like, but be aware that, some things are if it happens.
So Keith just made a very good point, and I just realized this too. Keith is right. So on the border, when you come on the border, NYCHA has the Redfern houses over there. Keith, where is that exactly?
Yeah, you could see it on it says Redfern houses right next to the railroad tracks, south of that.
Right there, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a stop by the Redfern houses by that diagonal street over there. Yeah.
There is a bus stop there. Okay.
And they're also extending the Q22 a few blocks to serve like the back end of the Redfern houses.
No, actually, I thought it was serving the railroad station.
The point is to serve the railroad station, but honestly, I'll put it this way. In my opinion, I think more people are going to be using it to get closer to the Redfern houses.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if people want to use it to get to the bus stop is there, use it for whatever you want. But I think practically speaking, more people will be benefiting, more of the people will be Redfern's houses residents rather than railroad riders. I mean, not that it makes a huge difference, but I think generally, even though the intent is to serve the railroad, I think practically speaking, it'll be a bit more of a benefit for people who live in that area.
But because Alan used to do this, so Alan knows this stuff. He's the expert on this as well. Alan, I had a question because I'm confused. On Namoki, is that Namoki Street? Isn't that street a one-way street?
I'm not familiar with the area.
Let me check. I can actually go on Google.
No, because that's a very narrow street over there by those new buildings that they built.
Yeah, let me check.
Maybe Keith knows. I think Keith probably knows because Keith lives in Far Rockaway. Either Keith or MJ would know.
It's pronounced Naimaki Street.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Sorry.
Naimaki Street is the stop. It's actually the stop where you connect to the Long Island Railroad. Not I was gonna say Beach Channel and Hassock Street. Beach Channel Hassock Street is the stop where Redfern houses where the Redfern houses is.
Okay.
It is one way.
I was right. Yeah. So they don't have a bus going on that street, right? Because I thought I just saw that in the new map.
Be going the wrong way now?
They don't. The Q22 goes up Redfern, makes the turn onto Namioki after it's one way. Once it turns into a two-way street, then it makes the turn, lays over at the train station.
Oh, it is a two-way street. Okay, all right. Okay,
it is a two-way street up to this point.
Okay.
So it's only west of that intersection here. It's only one way going east. Actually, no, I'm wrong about that again. It is two-way, but only this stretch of it is one way.
Okay. So then how would it go to the houses is on the other side, right, guys?
Well, it stops at the corner of the Redfern houses. So I'm saying, practically speaking, if you live in the Redfern houses, you're not just limited to the 113. If you live, even at the far end of the Redfern houses, you could, it's usable to walk it. It's an option to walk. If you literally have, if you live perfectly on the opposite corner of the Redfern houses and you have very limited mobility, then you can't use it. But practically speaking, a decent amount of people in that housing complex probably will be able to use it, which is a good thing.
So then how do we account for those who don't have it?
Right. Is there a way we could extend the bus further into the housing development?
I think what could be possible, the problem is I don't know how narrow this street is. What if they if they have a stop here that goes right to the train station, makes a left, goes over here,
Beach Channel Drive.
Yeah, Beach Channel Drive, then goes on Horn and then makes the loop over Namioki and then goes back down.
That could be an idea.
Or it can't go back down. Or it goes over here and continues the route.
Keep those streets that you're talking about.
So it's, if you're looking on the map,
right?
I'm actually going to go into here just so I can draw it for you. Far Rockaway, LIRR. So here's where that is. So what I'm going to do is, so the bus goes along Redfern Avenue up here. Now, instead of making the right onto, how do you pronounce it again?
Namioki.
Yeah, Namioki, whatever it is. It would continue. Nemaki. It would continue down Hassock Street. There would be a stop over here. And then, but that's a sharp turn. What it could do is, we have a stop here where the housing development is. And then it would continue this way on Horton Avenue, down this way, make a left on Nemaki, and then continue, and then return to the original route here. So it would kind of make that loop around just to serve the housing development.
Well, the
Jack.
house not that like I'll put it this way, because I mean, you can't get a one-seat ride to every single possible location. But what I'm saying is, if you, how do I say it? So for the people along Beach Channel Drive by Hassock Street, they have the 114. They can use that to get into Far Rockaway. And if their ultimate destination is Far Rockaway, they can just get off. If they need to transfer, they can transfer. If anybody if you were to argue that certain people need coverage, it's the people on the railroad side of the housing project, of the Redfern houses. So closer to, what is it, Central, I think it's called. The closer to the railroad, Redfern Avenue. So the Redfern Avenue side of the Redfern Avenue houses, I don't necessarily think it's, necessary, but if you were to say we need a little bit more coverage in that area, it should go down Redfern. Otherwise, why bother? Otherwise, you might as well just tell them to take the Q114 like they do now.
I think ultimately that would have to be illustrated in an analysis of the neighborhood and where exactly the demand is. I know we do have more people who are have been patiently waiting. And Charlton, are we good to go to Frederick Wells? I know he's been waiting for a while.
Oh yeah, I know Frederick's got a lot to say. Hey, George, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah,
we'll definitely follow up, George. And Alan, thank you. I know Alan had to leave. He's getting ready to leave. Thank you, Alan, so much. Alan's our board member. And Alan's the expert as well. George, great expertise. Frederick, I know Frederick's got a lot to say. Let's go, Frederick.
Yes, three things. Number one, number one is the inadequate service on the Astoria, Long Island City, Jackson Heights area with those bus routes, especially those former private line routes, especially along Steinway Street and the new 105. They took inadequate service. A lot of people over there, they can't depend on the subway. They need buses. They need the bus, especially more frequent, at least equal frequency to the subway.
Frederick, I agree with you. The 101 should stay to Manhattan. And I don't understand why they have to get rid of one bus route, get rid of another
They need
route.
routes from the Bronx coming down to these cars, and routes from Brooklyn, and routes from Upper Manhattan. Just so to even up frequency. That's part one. Part two was like the three-leg transfer on the Q44 Select from Bronx routes to intersecting Bronx routes to intersecting Queens routes. That's a necessity because people on east side of Queens, southeast Queens, they can't use the subway to get to the Bronx. It's going through Manhattan. It's crazy. It's a crazy route. Don't make sense. They need, you need a three-leg transfer since it's not going to Florida. You need a three-leg transfer to get to the 44 just to connect with any intersecting Queens route. Yeah.
Actually, we're going to push the MT to extend the 44 to Fordham. It really needs to go there. It should go
Yeah,
there.
it really needs, especially for the Metro North connection. But even still, even when pushing that, you still need to have a 3-leg transfer because they can't use the subway to get to Eastern Queens and Southeast Queens.
You're right. I know there was some talk about extending the 44 to JFK. I don't see that happening.
Oh no, that's not happening. No, that's not.
Yeah,
happening.
that's not happening.
No,
that's just really unrealistic. I mean, I would suggest the 50 go do Co-op City at all times and let you could bring the 50 to Jamaica along the 25 route and let the BX23 be the LaGuardia route, or something like that. Because the 44 going to need some help as the Bronx, Jamaica.
I did reach out to AOC's office because it so happens both the parts of the Q50 are in AOC's district, Congresswoman AOC's district. And it so happens that Co-op City, everyone in Co-op has been telling me they want the Q50 to run overnight.
At all times.
I agree. There needs to be some overnight coverage there.
I can certainly pass that note along to Tina Ford as well. Thank you, Charlton.
Okay,
and lastly, there's when you go back to Queens, we definitely need to eliminate this mandatory transfer that's in downtown Jamaica and Flushing. Any route we need to eliminate downtown Jamaica and Flushing, especially going east and west in Flushing, and just basically every route that hits in downtown Jamaica, with the exception of 44, because it's long enough that the bus operators need a break. But any basically route that's within Queens that crosses downtown Jamaica, we need to find some type of way to eliminate this mandatory transfer. I mean, I know routes have to be duplicate, whatever case may be, but because this mandatory transfer, it's forcing people to take 2 and 3 buses to stay in the borough, and it's ridiculous. It's a hardship on people. I mean, it's a real hardship on people. I mean, if you're on
Frederick, I'm a little confused. Okay, Frederick, slow down a bit. I'm confused. So you're saying, do you support 3 bus transfers, or are you saying you don't support people taking 3 different buses?
Okay, for the 3 bus transfer I'm supporting is on the 44 going from the Bronx to Queens, because you can't use the subway. You can't use the subway from Bronx to Queens. It's going into Manhattan. I'm talking about within Queens. I know the 44 is not going past Jamaica. It's not going past Jamaica. It's the bus operators need a break. But within Queens, Southeast Queens, like you're going, like, say, East Elmhurst area, like far from the subway, like around LaGuardia Airport, things like that. It's generally either a bus or a bus train bus. Well, and there's people who can't use the subway. So we need to eliminate this mandatory transfer here, so that like say if you're on Merrick Boulevard, like they once had the 25 going on Merrick Boulevard. We need that back. I mean, they can make another route along Parsons so they could go back to the air train station and satisfy those passengers. But we need the 25.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. What Norman Silverman did when MT Bus Company was created. And they extended the 25 to Jamaica, to Archer and Supton. Yep, I agree.
They can make another route, do that along Casino Parsons from, like, have to get in Flushing. They can make another route, do that, and let the 25 come on Merrick to do the Green Acre service. Turn that into a perk route or something.
So, like I said, Frederick, this is a very Queens is a very complicated borough. And I think the simplest thing to do to make it easy on everyone is to have a 3rd transfer. If you use a Paper Ride Omni or Paper Ride MetroCard, you should get a 3rd bus transfer.
That's like the 78. The 78, obviously, because with the old.
No, it should be automatically built. If you need a 3rd bus, you should have it
for all the buses.
Yeah.
Right.
Because like the old 78. Like, say, because it'll ran from Bay Terrace to, like, outside JFK Airport, right? That you was talking about. It'll have been like, say if you like Little Neck on the 12 and you're going to Green Acres Mall, you just take the 12, get on that 78 to Merrick, and get on the bus to Green Acres. It'll make sense. It's a 3-leg transfer that way.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, eliminate this mandatory transfer here in downtown Flushing. I mean, of course, 44 is going past here. Of course, yeah, but there's mandatory transfer so that people that's going like Queens Center Mall, it's like you just have a one seat ride instead of a mandatory transfer. You understand what I'm saying?
I'm still confused, but I think I get what you're saying. When you mean transfer, you mean getting on another bus, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
I got you. I got you on
mandatory
that.
transfer. That's mandatory
Right.
transfer.
Mandatory.
Got
I got you. I got you.
Yeah.
All right. So Tyler has his hands up.
Yeah, let's
Thank
get to
you,
Tyler
Frederick.
now. Thank you very much. Tyler, are you there?
Yes. I had a question for.
Sorry, good.
I think his name was Frederick. I want to ask him a question about the Q44 because I take the bus every day going home.
Yeah.
And my question for you is, you said that you want to extend to Fordham. My question is, where would you terminate that at? The reason I'm asking.
I said that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I agree with Fordham because it's a Metro North connection.
Right, but where would you terminate that at? Because you can't terminate at Fordham Plaza because you got the 15 and the 17 there. Also, you got the Westchester bus that cut through there. So
guys,
there is a bus terminal in Fordham. There's actually a bus hub over there, and that's where the 44 could be.
But right, so you got the 15 and you got the 17 there. And remember, the 15 is an articulated route. And you have so many buses.
Yeah, 44 articulated. Yeah.
Right. So my thing was is that with the 17, because you got the 17 basically right on the corner of Fordham Plaza, right where the there's I forgot what stores, there's some stores over there, and you got the 15, but it makes the loop around it. My only concern there was that because the 15 is an articulated bus, and then also you have the Westchester bus that cut through Fordham Plaza to go back there, right? To go back to Westchester, White Plains. So I'm just confused on where would you terminate that bus?
So there's a bus hub in Fordham where several buses, and that would be the perfect place. You could actually use one of those side streets, and you could come up that way, and then it could loop over there and terminate over there. I actually have seen that. I know that was suggested to us by several people. It's actually closer.
It only adds like maybe 7 minutes to the runtime. That's all it
does. Right, 7 minutes.
But then which roads would it take?
Good, and it's necessary for like if you take Metro North, like say White Plains, or you go to Connecticut. You know, it's like a necessary connection.
Right. So
I think George wants to say something. George is jumping. George is dying to say something. I can see him.
Because this was mentioned at the Bronx bus redesign thing, that one of the things is that the hospital in Belmont, what's it called?
St. Barnabas. St.
Barnabas, yeah.
Through there's a gap in service between 180th going east-west, which was the old 36, which is now the 40 and the 42, and Fordham Road. So there's no east-west service between Fordham Road and 180th. And it's like, all right, well, we can't address it in the Bronx redesign. Let's wait to address the Queens redesign. And they seem to have addressed it in the Queens redesign in the first two drafts when they extended the Q44. Then all of a sudden at the last minute, it's like, well, we didn't address it in the Bronx redesign. We didn't address it in the Queens redesign. So I guess those people are out of luck if they want to go to that hospital or just the surrounding area in general. Little Italy, quote unquote, Belmont, 187. So it's east-west coverage that's so okay, you don't want to extend the 44 there. So is there something else that could be extended there or something? Because it's not really.
They can't do anything with the 9. I mean, they can't do anything with the 9. And it's like if you go Metro North, you coming like on Southeast Queens. It's like, I mean, you don't want to run into Midtown Manhattan. You want to get over the Fordham, get it directly into Queens.
Right. Well, you could, yeah, but for a major connection that it is, and also the 9 doesn't go to the hospital. The 9. The hospital is only served by the 15, not served by anything else.
So, guys, what is the solution to bring the 40? We want the 44 at Fordham. How do we get it to Fordham?
Yeah, how do we get it?
The MT is declared that, as I said in my presentation, the MT is declared
much more frequent
that the route that the Q4 any further extension to Q44 would make the route unmanageable.
We understand that, but it's too vital. It's like like how the MTA cut cut their nose to spite the face with the 15 split, that new M125. That's it's something it's too vital. Bruce, that was too vital that they just.
I don't like the M1. I have issues. You know what they should have done? They should have kept the Third Avenue service going to Manhattan. When they did that, they cut off especially overnight, they cut off that one bus.
I don't know if it was intentional for them to do that, though, whether they were trying to just improve service on one portion of that branch or deliberately get people to pay more.
No, you can't.
They did implement a three-legged transfer for that.
They did.
But what good is a three-legged transfer? I mean, people they take the BX15, they travel to the M7, or they travel to the M15.
All right. Well, okay. Let me. Because here's one of the things and this is where it's crucial to make sure we're not mixing two separate issues. So whenever an extra transfer is necessary for one reason or another, there's two aspects that need to be balanced. One is the inconvenience of getting on one bus and onto the other one. The other is the physical money that you have to pay. So the three-legged. So now keep in mind there might be benefits too. And some if the route becomes more reliable because it's shorter, it's easier to manage, easier to dispatch. There's pros and cons. But on the con side, if the route is cut back, people have to get off. The thing is that the three-legged transfer allows them to not have to pay extra. So it's like, all right, well, you still have to get off, but at least you don't have to pay extra.
But still, they're waiting longer. That's the problem. The 125 is not
necessarily.
Not as frequent as the BX15 and 100 combined.
Right, but here's the thing, and this is where the Staten Island thing comes back into play. When they did the three-legged transfers in Staten Island, they did a very restrictive transfer. So they said, yes, we'll let you take the three modes of transportation, but first of all, they didn't publish it anywhere. So, unless you literally happen to be in the know and know the right people who forwarded the right, if you happen to know Philippa and were in her Facebook group and saw the screenshot of the transfer policy, because it's not posted anywhere on the website. But aside from that, the problem is that they said you have to get off at this particular station or this set of particular stations and make your transfers there. Now, the thing is, I don't have a problem with at least necessarily, making people transfer. Like in a city as big as we are, there's no way to get, a direct ride from every corner of the city to every other corner of the city. But if you're going to make people transfer, you should give them the freedom to transfer to what routes that they need and where they want to move it. So, for example, the way the three-legged transfer works.
Transit does it. Connecticut Transit does it. You go unlimited transfer.
Exactly. So something like that, I would just be like, all right, 2 hours, ride as far as you can get. That should be enough to cover it. Now, the thing is, for example, with the BX15, let's say you want to go from Morrisania to LaGuardia Airport. So what happens is, under the old system, you would take the BX15 to Manhattan, and then you would take the M60. Under the, redesigned Bronx system, you would take the BX15 to 149th, then you take the M125 to East Harlem, and then you take the M60. Now, the thing is, if you're making me get off at 149th, why do I have to take the BX15? Why do I have to take the M125? Why can't I get on the subway? Now that you made me get off the bus, now that I had to give up my seat and get off the bus, now why can't I just take the subway to the M60 instead of, now I have to take
when some people can't use the subway, and then it's like, and they ignored the one proposal that they had to extend the 41 to LaGuardia Airport, which would have been a lot easier for all the rest of the Bronx.
Right. That's an issue
guys, the subways are dangerous, and you have a lot of airport workers, senior citizens who don't want to get on the subway. There's been times.
That's a whole other issue.
I was coming from where is it? Empire City in the Westchester, and I actually took 3 or 4 buses rather than get on the subway. It's been done. I've done it before. So, I just you need bus service.
They will get off and use the Q44 because it don't make sense going to 42nd Street, Manhattan, to wait for a train in Jamaica when by the time you're 42nd Street, 44 is past Flushing.
Right. I mean, the thing is, people got to use what works for them. So to me, I've taken the subway at all hours of the night. To me, I don't care. I'll take, a train overnight through Brooklyn at 3 a.m. I really don't care. Like whatever is the quickest way to get me home. If it's the subway, if it's the bus, I don't care. I live in Newark and everything. It's, light rail, whatever it is in the middle of the night. That's it. It's whatever's the quickest way. I don't care. The thing is, if somebody would like to take that way, they should be allowed to take that way. It shouldn't be like, well, because the subway is not safe or somebody thinks it's not safe, that, okay, well, your transfer shouldn't allow you to get onto the subway. If you want to get onto the subway, you should be able to use your transfer, your three-legged transfer to use the subway. That's point blank, period.
Guys, Tyler made a very good point, trying to figure out where it will terminate, where the Q44 will terminate in the Bronx, especially where would you put the SBS machine? That's why I said if you put it in the bus hub over there, it works because the bus driver then can take a break, park the bus, right, do a turnaround, and it's a great hub because other buses connect to the grid. That's why I'm saying I think that's a great idea. Just put it in Fordham Bus Hub.
I think the question is there enough space in Fordham Bus Hub? And
they can find space.
Right. I mean, that's my
see that terminates there also along the 17. They all terminate at that one spot, so it's not as big as you think it would be. And you still got the 6 buses still. Those two that go back to my plane.
I think we
maybe put it on Fordham Road. I think we're gonna have to go there.
Like 189 Webster and just loop around.
That's a possibility.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I think that's a much larger discussion that we would have. But I think the real question that we would want to answer is how would it get from where it is now in West Farm Square over to Fordham? Would it take 180th? Would it go down Southern Boulevard? That should be
because the BX9 it takes only maybe like 9 minutes. So like 182nd be maybe shave off like 2-3 minutes. So add only 6 minutes to the run.
Well, you got to look at what was proposed previously. It's literally in the plan from the previous plan. The previous plan was going down 182nd Street.
Yeah.
South.
Right. But does 182nd work for articulated buses? What about 187?
Well, it's highly dense, so I mean, it don't work. It's highly that area of the Bronx is very dense.
I mean, the BX9 runs through there with verdicts.
This is called one thing I want to bring up.
Both are articulated routes, might I add.
One thing I wanted to bring up, real important. I noticed in the Bronx Bucks these redesign, they never did change the BX6 SBS to Soundview, and I'm thinking it's because they don't want to install more SBS fare machines and kiosks. So maybe this is the reason why they're reluctant on changing any SBS routes, and they're making other excuses. I just want to bring that to your attention because what are they waiting for the BX6 to go to Soundview? It's been proposed it's the final plan was proposed.
They could create a new route. They could just simply create a new route.
I told them they should get rid of the fare machines and kiosks and just when people have a Metro card, they just board the articulated bus in the front.
Guys, can I make a point? With the new Omni card, the fare machines are going to be gone because everyone who uses Omni is paying through the readers. So if that's the MT's argument, let's just say if that's why they're not doing it, it's a stupid argument. Because with Omni now, everyone has prepaid Omni cards. Most people are starting to switch over to Omni now. And students will be switching over in September.
You can use your smartphone. You can use
your smartphone, your contactless card. You don't need the Omni card. You can use whatever you have. It's a versatile system. And as Charlton mentioned before, once Omni is fully rolled out and the Metro cards are phased out, you won't need the machines anymore.
And when the Queens Bus redesign takes effect, I have a feeling it will be another year or so. By then, everyone would have switched over to Omni. So I think you could extend it to Fordham Road. You have to extend that.
Absolutely.
44. Guys, we have people here from College Point. I know Elizabeth is here from College Point, and they have concerns as well as Maria. So guys, let's go to Elizabeth from
go.
College Point Civic Association, because I know they got a lot going on in College Point. We don't want to forget
Let me
you,
go, guys.
College Point. Yeah. Thank you, Frederick.
Elizabeth, are you there? Do you want to say anything?
Because I know College Point they've got issues going on there. We're going to be headed to College Point as well. We don't want to forget them. Or Maria maybe might want to jump in. Maria Greco, she's still on.
Yeah, no, thanks. Excuse me, I've been listening. Boy, it's pretty overwhelming.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a lot. But as I think I've said before, I'm in Jackson Heights, so yeah, I see some of what's going on. Excuse me. And of course, being disabled, I do tend to use Accessoride. But anyway, it's a lot. There's a lot to it's a lot to fix. Okay. Sorry. Something just went the wrong way. But anyway,
it's okay.
No particular comments at this time. Thanks.
Okay, so are you happy with the way they have it? Because I know people in Jackson Heights were telling me they're still not happy with the redesign. And I can understand why, because there's some routes there that have been misaligned. And
I have to take another closer look, but Jackson, it depends where. I'm just north of Northern Boulevard. Okay.
Well,
because what they're doing,
they have the stop spaced out.
Right, but the thing with Northern Boulevard that they've done is they have a local and a rush route there now. And that's going to cause some confusion on Northern Boulevard.
Right, that's what I was wondering about. That's one thing I was wondering about, and how that's supposed to work. And is that really going to work?
Jim Burke, and Jim over there was taking the lead on all that stuff. Jim and all of them. I'm going to have to touch base with Jim, Nola, Nola, Jim, and everyone there, because they got to get this right, because it's one thing to have it look good on a map, but we all know people like to take, what they've basically done is they split the Q66 and the new route. So that's going to cause confusion over there on Northern Boulevard. I can see that being a problem.
I agree.
And Jack is pulling it up as we speak now. We're looking at it. So that could be an issue. And also they did something with that other route. I forgot what route it was. The Q49. There's a street where it doesn't go through anymore. And where did I see that?
Yeah, let's look at that.
Yeah, I'm not.
So here's
Q49
the 49.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't think I've ever taken that. Maybe once in my life.
Yeah.
Oh,
so the
there it is.
49 is no longer running on 89th Street.
Oh, Nola's not going to be happy about that.
No, they're not.
Did they even see this? I don't
think
Jim Burke
it's still running on 89, so there's no change to the route.
What's the black lines then?
The black line is what it is currently. This is
there was a change. It used to go to 108th Street. They cut it back to 102 Street.
That's what it was. That's what it was called. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because you know who told me that? Talia Wolfka.
But
and the district leader out there, I forgot his name.
Then why is the existing one showing it going to 102? Yeah, Q49.
From the previous draft, the draft design extended it to 108. Now they cut it back again to 102.
Oh, okay, got it.
Oh boy, some people are not going to be happy over there. Okay, so good thing we caught that. All right, so I'll come by Jackson Heights and we'll definitely talk. I'll come out there again.
Okay.
Yep, I'll talk to Talia and them. Is Elizabeth here? Elizabeth Kusia? Because we wanted to touch base real quick on College Point before we leave. This has been a very exciting meeting. Thank you, Maria. I don't know if Elizabeth is there or...
You're welcome.
Okay.
I know Elizabeth is here. I want to unmute her directly just because she didn't raise her hand yet.
Okay.
On the spot.
Because I don't want to... College Point, guys, they really have issues out there. That is a transit desert. Yeah. And they really... I feel for them because I know they're not happy with some things. We're definitely going to reach out to them. I think we covered most of the transit deserts today. I think we tried to, except Whitestone. Did we want to check out Whitestone?
Here's Whitestone currently. We have the 15, the 15A, and then this is what it's going to be. So
Yeah,
we're going
that
to
was
have
that
the
route.
Q62, which I think is new. That's not it. And then, of course, some express buses. But then,
Oh, the QM3 is that big issue. Yep, that was
yeah,
that
they're
big
getting rid of
issue.
the QM3. That's a real problem.
And we're gonna have to fight for that. And remember, guys, congestion pricing. Remember that. So there's
They're
been
using the
some,
wrong metrics.
but there's been some lawsuits announced today. Let's hope those lawsuits will slow that down, because what the MT is not realizing, if congestion pricing is implemented, you're going to have millions and millions of more people taking buses and subways. So they have to add, instead of spending 30 million, they've got to spend like 100 million more on buses. But then again, it's our elected officials, guys. It is what it is. The elected officials, if they're not speaking up, this is the problem. But I know Vicky Palladino doesn't play around in Whitestone and Bayside. She's on the ball. And I did meet with her about the Whitestone, the QM3. We did speak to her about that. So, yep.
Okay, so is there anyone else who wishes to say anything? And of course, please remember, we have all these.
Oh, wait, Elizabeth's hand is up now.
Oh, okay, fantastic.
Let's go to
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, just making sure because I'm not on video. So basically, I don't really have a lot of input at this time because of the timing of the redesign coming out, because it was right before the holidays and now it's right after the holidays. I do know there were a lot of people complaining about the Q26 being changed because it's not going to Jamaica anymore. It's going to Fresh Meadows. And that is a problem for some people, but I have to get more input from people in order, because I don't really use that line. I use the 25 and I use the 20 and I use the 76. I also have to find out from my community if removing the 20B is going to work for them, because what they did do is they have the 76 going where the 20B used to go. Or sorry, the 20A. I'm getting mixed up. 20A, where the 20A used to go.
Jack, can you zoom in on that so we can see that as she's speaking? Because as you're speaking, we're looking at the route. I don't know if you can see that on your end.
Here we go. So this is where the 20 is. This is where the 20 used to go. Yeah, the 20A and the 20B. And
right. So the 76 is going to take that.
is no longer going to be there.
Right. And so that might be a problem for some people, but the 76, they did reroute it where it used to go down 132nd Street. And that was its like final destination was 132nd Street, where you would pick it up. Actually, it would drop you off on 131st and it would you'd pick it up on 132nd. But now instead they're extending it further. They're extending it toward College Point Boulevard in the redesign, so that people who used to take the 20A can take the 76 instead of the 20A, because basically they had left the community without a way to get to the shopping center, which has Target, BJ's, TJ Maxx, etc. Food shopping, everything is over there. And a lot of people were coming from that end of College Point by bus to get there. And we also had an issue with people in the second redesign. We had an issue with people who work in that shopping center not being able to get to Flushing to get the subway to go home. So that was an issue too. I'm not really sure, because again, these are people who take the bus different ways than I take it. So I have to hear from the community before I can really find out what the issues are. I know, like I said, the 26/65 is a problem already. The Q25 everybody is pretty much happy. I mean, they have removed stops, including mine, which I'm like, all right, I'm not disabled, so I can go to the block before or whatever. The only thing that might be a problem with removing my stop and another stop that they're removing is that there's a lot of people who get on the bus at that stop. So the other bus stops are going to end up getting overloaded with the people from our cut stops.
And I just realized they're eliminating the bus stop by the police academy as well.
Can you explain which one that is?
The police academy, if I'm right, Elizabeth, isn't that by 28th Avenue?
Right over
No,
here.
it's
There
not
it
by
is.
20th Avenue. They're not eliminating the 20th Avenue stop. They're
Oh,
eliminating.
they're not.
They're eliminating the 9th Avenue. 20th Avenue is the homeless shelter. They're not eliminating the 20th Avenue stop. They're eliminating the 22nd Avenue stop, which is probably not a huge deal. The police academy is further up. I'm not sure what they did over there. I have to really take a better look at that.
The police academy is at College Point Boulevard and 30th Avenue.
Bus stop is still there. Okay, good.
Okay. Yeah,
But
that
you
should
have a
not be
lot of
removed
people
'cause there's
over
a
there
lot
in
of people who
College
get
Point.
on over there. Yeah.
You have a lot of businesses.
Actually the bus is still extremely crowded. It's more crowded than it was like when they started this redesign. The buses are packed to to capacity. So I mean, we're happy that they're keeping the bus line and that it's still going to be going into Jamaica, because that works for a lot of people who work in between Jamaica and College Point. There's people who work,
But there's a problem. The frequencies are changed. The headways are going to be longer. That's the problem.
Yeah, let's check that on the Q26.
Oh, that's the Q26. Okay.
Which one
No,
are
the
you
route she's talking about, the one in the
The
green.
one I was talking about was the 25.
Yeah, the
25.
25.
Right. Sorry.
So the 25, we're actually seeing, according to the NTA's report, decrease in the headways by an average of 1 minute overall. We're still seeing increased gaps for overnight service, though.
Wow.
By 6 minutes, but everything else is decreased.
And what about the New York Times plant over there? Because I know a lot of workers who work at those factory plants over there. You know where I'm talking about, by the Whitestone Expressway.
Yeah,
That's also considered College Point.
That's considered College Point / Whitestone. It's kind of in between us.
Right.
Basically, I really don't even know what goes over there as far as buses, because nobody's ever really brought that up.
No, but you guys are losing express bus service. You know you're losing the QM3. That is going to bring
That's going to be a major
values
problem.
down. Yeah.
That's going to be a major problem for people.
I told Vicky Palladino, we've got to save that bus route. We've got to, because the city of New York is paying for that service. That service is under the MTA bus company, but the city of New York reimburses the MTA as that's the private, the way they used to do the private bus companies. So the thing that I'm seeing is, the New York City transit routes and the MTA bus company routes, the way they're doing these consolidations, they have to realize that there are equity issues. Same thing, and people can say whatever they want about College Point, but College Point is really a transit desert. You don't have any rail service. You don't have any ferry service. The only way to get to a subway is a bus. And the only other...
out of College Point is to take a bus, yeah.
But you're losing the one express bus route.
3 doesn't enter College Point. 3 goes down Northern Boulevard. The 3 goes to past Flushing, kind of. It doesn't go to College Point.
It does. It brushes it.
There's an express bus that stops by what used to be Toys R Us along the Whitestone Expressway.
Well, that's still there.
That bus has been that's still there.
That's the QM20.
Okay,
so Jack, can you pull up the
that one's
express
still
bus?
there?
Jack is
You're
pulling
looking
it
for
up
the
for us now.
QM20?
Yeah, I mean the 3 goes, if you look at where the 3 is compared, like College Point is on the northwest side of the Whitestone Expressway. The 3 is south and east. I mean, it serves completely different areas.
Yeah, so we're getting the QM20 is going to still be in existence.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. Because
But
I
the
really didn't look at
QM3
this
only
here
difference is that actually, no, it's just going to go down Northern Boulevard, which does not make any sense.
Right.
Because right now it's just taking the LIE to the Van Wyck. Now they're proposing to have it go up down Northern the whole way, which makes no sense at all. And
Okay, well, that's something I'll have to point out to people as well, because a lot of people don't know how to look at the redesign map.
Well, the 20 as it is goes down Northern Boulevard.
Yeah, but George, you have to understand something, George. That area needs more express bus service. They do, because they don't have even LIRR out there. They really need, they should not be getting less. They should be getting more service. This is the issue that I expressed this, and I know Vicky Palladino supports more bus service out there.
Right, but that's when I'm clear about which areas are served by which routes, because if we say this that's a few miles away is serving College Point, that's not accurate. If we say the 20 is serving or the 2, those
so
types.
I'm talking about Beechhurst, but most of the people, that route that starts in Beechhurst goes to College Point. That's what I'm saying. That old QM3 route. It used to go the 3E. Was it the 3E?
The QM3 does not go through
Boulevard.
It goes along Northern Boulevard. It doesn't go into College Point.
It doesn't go into.
No, Jack. I'm talking about the existing
32?
route that they have now.
You're talking about the 32, right?
The existing route is Northern Boulevard. That's it. It's Northern Boulevard neighborhoods, and it runs near the Long Island Railroad. That's why they're, and whatever, it goes to different sections of Midtown than the thing, but it goes to look on bus time. That's probably the simplest way. Look on bus time where the QM3 goes, because you're not going to see it on this one because it's eliminated. But look on bus time.
Well, you'll see it under the existing routes. This is where the QM3 goes.
Fine. So that is not Point. That's not Beechhurst. That's Little Neck. That's Douglaston. That's Bayside. That's not to say that.
I'm sorry. I got that mixed up. I do apologize.
Thinking about the 32.
That was the route that was, it was the 32. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
guys.
they're keeping the 32.
Elizabeth, they are keeping it.
Okay. Well,
but wait a minute, Jack. Let's make sure, because I see black lines there. So those
black
are bus
lines
stop
is what the existing route is, and the dark green one is what it will be. So the dotted black line, as I mentioned before, just for the record, is what the existing route is. The proposed route is the solid line.
It doesn't look
okay.
And you can see that it overlaps it completely.
But
so
why don't they should have, remember when we were at College Point, Elizabeth, when we spoke there, when we had that function, I remember telling them that they needed an express bus route that starts on the other side. So guys, you see,
we were talking about
over here, right?
Yes.
Condos. Yeah, the condo area.
Right.
Because those people have to take a bus to get to the express bus. Like, it's not easy for everybody in College Point. In order to get to an express bus, has to take the bus to get to the express bus.
So that still has not been fixed in this redesign plan, even after our meeting. It's ridiculous. So I'll definitely bring this up to Vicky Palladino and Congresswoman AOC. We got to get that corrected, because the MT bus company gets federal tax grants. Unlike New York City Transit, there's a different, the funding formula is different. So that I will bring up. So if there was an express bus that started over there by the condos and the developments over there, what street would you have it run down, Elizabeth?
I don't really know, because I kind of don't live in an area that's really served by very many buses. So I have one bus out, and that's 25. And
25.
sometimes it takes me 20, and that's if I walk up the hill about 4 blocks to get the bus.
Right. And
So-
also, so would you say it should run along the 25 route, the way the 25 runs?
I don't know. That would really be up to the people who are living in that area who use the express bus.
Okay,
But
okay.
the problem is the streets are narrow, and the street that the 25 goes down is one of the least narrow streets in the community. Because it's a very wide street, which is why the Q25 can go down, up and down it, although it gets stuck up toward 23rd Avenue because it's narrower up there. The streets are really narrow. They're and we have road construction going on at this time too.
Yeah, I know they're fixing the sewage pipes and the roadways out there. We were told that they're going to have NYC ferry service. So I'm trying to figure out, where's the ferry terminal over there? Is it by the College Point Yacht Club?
There is no ferry terminal, and that's basically been a rumor that's been going around for years and years and years. And there are people in the community who want it, and there are people in the community who say, where would people park? There's no parking in this community. There's no place to have it, blah, blah, blah. You know, and they keep changing where it was kind of like in the pipeline, but then they thought about it logically and not really the best place to put one. And although it used to have ferries coming from College Point years and years and years and years and years ago, but not anymore. It's just because there's so much that was built up. There's like a lot of factories and a lot of like the Pepsi plant and everything else that take up a lot of the space where a ferry could have been.
Got it. All right, so we're gonna come out to College Point to do a meeting, and we're gonna come out there. But they need an additional bus route out there, an express bus route.
Absolutely.
Yes, they do, because there's a lot of people who work in the city who would prefer a ferry, but will take an express bus if that's available to them.
Yeah, and Elizabeth, again, what organization? You're with the College Point Civic, right?
I am with a Better College Point Civic Association.
Okay, I keep getting them confused. I'm sorry. A Better College Point Civic. So what we want to do is, if you can speak to the Civic and ask them if we can come out and do a presentation, we'd love to do one.
I can definitely ask them that.
Okay, great. And we can even do it on Zoom. I know it's winter time now, so we have snowstorms and all that stuff. So, if Zoom works for you guys, we could do that as well.
Well, we don't have, where we have our meetings currently, we don't have access to a screen.
So then I guess we'll come out there and survive the elements.
Live.
Okay, so we'll come out there. We'll come out there towards like March.
Whatever it is, we'll make it work.
We'll make it work.
We'll let you know when our next, because we're having a meeting this month, but we already have it all filled in with people. And I don't know when our next meeting is after that, because we've been doing them bi-monthly instead of monthly, so it might be March, but I'll let you know.
Because I like College Point. I loved coming out there, and I actually saw the buffet place out there. There's some great restaurants out there. So we want to do some more stuff with College Point. I love that community.
Well, most of us are just trying to get out of it. So not to move, but just to go other places other than College Point. It's like, and sometimes that's a problem with the transit that we have.
Right. It's hard to get out of there.
If the bus doesn't come, you're like, what are we gonna do? How do we?
You're stranded out there.
Yeah, pretty much. Like you said, it's a transit desert. There's no option.
All right, so thank you so much. Really appreciate that. It is getting a little late now.
Yeah, they're gonna kick me out of here very shortly.
Yeah, so I know Mike left. Danny said that we need lower wait times on the Q76.
That's correct.
Okay, and I think that's it. So how many people, does anyone have their hands up?
I think that's just other people who have spoken before.
Okay.
We'll be saving the chat as well, and we will be making a lot of these comments public. We can make it anonymous if you prefer that.
And we have two Samsung phones here. I've been trying to figure out.
One of them was David. One of them was someone else
who spoke
Hey,
earlier.
Carl.
And
Carl, I just want to say something about the Q25 and the Q112.
Sure, Carl.
Yeah, the last bus redesign, they had the Q112 going directly from Liberty Avenue up to the Suffolk Boulevard subway and then to the Jamaica terminal area. Now what they did is they put the Q112 back on Tuskegee Airman Way and then to Parsons Boulevard, which people from Richmond Hill that want to get to the subway faster at Suffolk Boulevard, that's going to take them out of the way. So my suggestion is to put the Q112, have it run, make a left and go straight to Suffolk Boulevard, Jamaica Area, and have the Q25 when it goes to Suffolk take at Jamaica Area and Parsons, instead of going west, go east to Gaillard Brewer, take Gaillard Brewer to Tuskegee Airman Way, which is also known as South Road, and take that to Suffolk Boulevard, then back up Suffolk Boulevard, and they can terminate to 25 around the same location. So and it would give them more frequency of bus service on Tuskegee Airman Way versus the Q112 route. So that was my idea for the bottom of the Q25 route.
So we'll have to look at that. We'll have to look at that, call, because I think there could be an issue with that. We'll check that out. All right, Paul. So yeah, we got that. Anyone else in closing? Because some people got a chance to speak a lot and some didn't. So anyone who didn't speak who wants to make a comment. Okay, and George, thank you so much.
As always, I did want to make one point. As always, remember, we have all these resources for you to reach the MTA directly. So please utilize them.
So two things. So one, MTA regarding the whole Omni and SBS type thing, the MTA did explicitly say that they would reroute the BX6 SBS to Soundview once Omni is implemented. So it's not that they forgot or they're making excuses. They straight out said Omni is coming in at that time, like 1 or 2 years or whatever it is. We'll do this after Omni said it. So that's the story with the SBS thing. The other thing is with anything related to articulated buses, whenever they add articulated buses to a route, they generally tend to reduce the frequency. So that's why when, it's only really useful on really frequent routes that are already very busy and very frequent, something like a Q44 or the Woodhaven routes or something like that. So keep in mind that, if the bus comes every, let's say, 15 minutes, you put Arctics on it, it's probably going to run every 20 because they'll say, well, we have enough capacity at, 4 buses per hour with regular things and 3 buses per hour on the thing. Technically, you have a little bit more capacity, but less frequency, I can understand why they do it. I mean, you do get more capacity for fewer drivers, but the thing is, it only works when the route is already frequent enough. If you take a medium frequency route and start putting Arctics on it, there's a chance that it'll reduce the frequency to something that's not really, acceptable.
That's a very good point that you're raising, because you know what I just realized? The MTA told me that there were some routes where they wanted to put Arctics on. And so why is it in the Queens Bus redesign plan they don't tell you what type of buses are going to serve which types of routes, the size of the buses? That's a good point that you've raised. Very good point, George.
Yeah. I mean, presumably they would say, because a lot of the routes at this point aren't changing that much compared to, like the previous drafts. So something like the Brewer routes would probably use articulated buses. The Merrick routes would probably use, regular buses. But yeah, they don't really, for things that are kind of combinations of some routes, they don't really say if it would be standard or articulated. But I think for the most part, the corridors that have articulateds would stay with articulateds, and the corridors that have, the standards would stay with the standards. But that is a good point. They didn't say, those frequencies with, the other thing.
And also, they're not telling us what garages the new bus routes are coming out of. That's another thing. Because let's say if a bus like the Q110 is coming out of Queens Village Bus Depot, but technically they cannot do that legally because the MTA bus company drivers cannot be put for New York City transit routes unless the state legislature would change that. And that's a whole union thing, and they would, and so that's a whole mumbo jumbo. But they should tell us what depots these routes are coming out of. And I want clarification from the MT on that, because the MT did say that, remember the meeting we attended, Jack? They did say that they figured out which garages they're going to come out of. And the Queens Bus redesign plan was based on the mileage and based on the equipment they had in the garages. So why isn't that information not in the Queens Bus redesign report? So I think we need to hold them to the fire on that in closing.
I mean, what the thing is that I remember in previous, meetings, it's like, oh, we wouldn't publish, there's no point in publishing all these statistics. Only people like you would look at it. It's like, well, even if it's only 5% of the people reading the thing or 10%, I mean, information is information. So I don't really see any harm in releasing it. I mean, it's not like, oh, I know in some cases they're like, oh, this one special bus is at a particular depot and they're worried people are going to break in and film it or whatever the case is. But general logistical information, I mean, it's.
Come on. They're assuming something of us that's not true.
Say it again?
They're assuming something of us that's just not true. And again, what do they have to hide?
Right.
This is just basic information. Where are you going to have these buses running from? I mean, if you haven't figured it out, then admit how you didn't figure it out. But come on.
All right, so we got to get ready to get out of here because Jax must be very tired. I know a lot of us have to leave and we got things to do tomorrow. So Jack, in closing, did you want to, actually we should let our vice president of buses, if he's still around. David, are you here?
Yes, I'm still here.
Wow, David. Okay, David. So what do you want to say in closing? Have you seen the
All I want
light,
to say
David?
in closing is that we have to get involved. We must put pressure on our locally elected officials to make sure that our concerns are addressed.
David, have you seen the light today, David?
Yeah. It's been an eye opener.
So guys, we're going to keep pushing David because we got to get David. We're trying to mold David. David's our new vice president of bus advocacy. But guys, David knows his stuff. He's been doing this for a long time. And also George is an expert. Alan is an expert. Like I said, we have so many experts. Carl's an expert. Jack is our expert. So we have a lot of people here at Passengers United. But we need to talk to each other, listen to each other, and we need to find the best solutions that are going to work, that are realistic, and that can be done. So, I want to thank all of you for listening to us tonight. Jack, in closing, take it away, Jack.
Thank you so much. And again, thank you all so much, whether you're still here or you were here before or you're going to be watching this later on. We really appreciate your time. But then again, as I mentioned before, there's only so much that we can do. The MTA gave us some resources, and now it's on to us to pass those along to you. And then now it's on to you to really take the action necessary to make this work properly, because the MTA can't do everything without that input. And we certainly can't do everything without you taking that next step.
One thing I will say that I'm very outraged about, the MT is still on its digital screens on the new buses. There's no announcement about the Queens Bus redesign, which is ridiculous. They've put posters up. I've noticed on the routes that are being eliminated or curtailed, there's no posters on them. But on the routes that are not affected, they got posters up. Something is going on, guys. And
I think if anything, they really need to improve their outreach with this. The problem is they're not being transparent about it, and that's a serious issue. Where's the equity? They throw the word equity around. They don't know what it means.
Right.
So that's something that we're really striving for, and that's why we've been having these meetings. That's why we're all here today. And that's why we are going to continue what we're doing and make sure that this plan is going to work for you, that we're not going to replicate what happened in the Bronx and what happened in Staten Island. So,
and for our board members here, I know Danny's here. I don't know if Alan's here. He may have left.
Yeah, he left.
But we are having our board meeting coming up, guys. So you should have received all your materials. And we'll be in touch with you as well. At our advisory board and our ADA members, we will also be speaking with you as well. We got a lot on our plate. We're trying to do a lot. And one thing before we close, can we just go to Yuki Endo if he's still here? We have a person, a friend on the Zoom call who's watching us from Japan. We got to give Yuki credit because Yuki, come on, Yuki, for a second. In closing, let's just say hello to Yuki. Yuki, are you there?
Yeah.
Hello, Yuki. How are you doing?
Good.
Yuki, we miss you. Everyone misses you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I will show you one bus quickly.
Okay, Yuki. Show us.
Yeah.
Hold on, he's going to show us the bus. Come on, Yuki, we got to go home. Show us, Yuki.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I got to use another phone.
Oh, you're using a phone? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Yuki, we gotta go, man, because we're running late. So
yeah,
you just wanted. Oh, there you are. Oh, there's a bus.
Go.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Wow, that's a nice bus. Okay, Yuki. Yeah. So hopefully we'll come to Japan soon. All right, Yuki. So thank you so much for joining. We really appreciate you listening in from Japan. What time is it there, Yuki?
28 January 5.
Okay, what time?
PM.
Yeah, what time is it there?
And 12:29 PM.
Oh, 12:29
PM. Hours ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, they're lunchtime.
Lunchtime. All right, Yuki, good talking to you. Okay, we'll see you.
Yeah.
Guys, I want to thank everyone who came out tonight. We're so excited about this plan, and you see how long this meeting has gone on. When we get excited about buses, we talk. That's what we do, guys. So you can depend on Passengers United. We're the experts on buses, a whole team. So Jack, let's just close it.
Absolutely, and we learned so much from you too. Please continue providing your input, continue sharing everything, because that's how we grow and that's how we get better from all of you. And we really appreciate you coming out here tonight and really making your voices heard and really helping us advocate or helping us help you advocate as well. So we really appreciate it. You're muted.
Right, and we will have another meeting coming up.
All right, so definitely stay tuned. I mean, of course, we're on social media. You can find us on everything, basically. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all that stuff. We have
Jack, can you go to our website?
Definitely. So, and then again, I mean, as I showed you before, this is our website. This is what comes up, but then you can access everything as well, and you will still be able to access this page even when it's not our homepage. So, and you can watch the live stream, the recording of this meeting right here when it ends. So definitely take advantage of that. If there's anything that you feel that you missed, that you want to look at, and I definitely encourage you, if you're really interested in really staying up to date, let's say that you weren't here earlier, and I'm speaking to those who have left earlier, just take a look at the recording. If there's anything that you really want to look at that stands out to you. You're going to learn something that you didn't necessarily catch because you weren't here. So the recording is going to be available to you. Same thing with the recording from our meeting on December 20th, and we will keep that going as well. So
all right,
all
everyone.
of these
So thank
resources
you.
have been made available for you. Hopefully it's as easy to access as possible, but it's made with you in mind, and we're going to keep this going. So again, thank you so much. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you, guys. Bye. Good night.